Chapter 546. Jingyu jumped out of bed in a flurry and said to Nuanyu while putting on her clothes, "Quick, quick, quick! Go wake Qinggu up and go to the main hall. Tell him that we found the black snow Ganoderma." Nuanyu responded and quickly turned around and ran out. The courtyard was in a mess early in the morning. When Jingyu arrived at the main hall, she saw the palm-sized jade box. She slowly opened it, and sure enough, she saw a pitch-black Ganoderma lucidum lying inside. It looked black from afar, but when she looked closer, she realized that the Ganoderma was so red that it was black. "Where is the black blood Ganoderma? Where is it? Let me see." Qinggu didn't even tie up his hair. He just ran out with his hair disheveled. With a glance, he saw the black blood Ganoderma lying in the jade box. He immediately let out a strange cry and trembled as he picked up the black blood Ganoderma. Black blood Ganoderma? A complete black blood Ganoderma without any damage. I actually saw it in my lifetime. I can die without regrets. Qingji's face was full of excitement. Jingyu stared at Qinggu in shock. Wasn't it just a medicinal herb? Did he have to act like he saw a ghost? If he saw a ghost, he was probably scared to death. "You found the black blood Ganoderma?" While Jingyu was secretly ridiculing, Xiaochen also arrived at the main hall. He drank the medicine last night and slept, so his body was much better now. When he heard the commotion, he came over. When he saw the black blood Ganoderma in Qingji's hand, his eyes were full of surprise. "Ninth brother, it's really the black blood Ganoderma. There's hope." Qingji's cheeks were red with excitement. Yes. Compared to Qingji's excitement, Xiaochen was abnormally calm. Where did this come from? Xiaochen frowned slightly and asked Jingyu. "Helian Theo sent someone to deliver it." Jingyu shrugged and said, "What does Helian Theo want? Sending someone to snatch it and deliver it to us? Could it be to curry favor with you?" Xiaochen was silent for a moment and didn't say anything. Qinggu was still immersed in his excitement and kept moving for 2 hours. When Jingyu and Xiaochen finished washing up, Qinggu ran back to his room and put on his clothes. Looking at his incomparably excited appearance, Jingyu rolled her eyes. "Ninth brother, the herbs are ready. We can start the treatment immediately. It will take about 10 days for the 3 courses of treatment to completely remove the poison in ninth brother's body." Qingji's eyes were filled with excitement and joy. Jingyu also smiled. "Then let's get started." Jingyu said impatiently, "Let's start." Xiaochen took a deep breath and slowly opened his mouth. The poison that had plagued him for so many years could finally be removed. Xiaochen was overjoyed and excited, but he didn't seem to have any emotional fluctuations. Perhaps he did, but he hid it very well. Xiaochen was arranged to stay in the room. Xing Yi and Xing Er were on guard day and night, not allowing anyone to enter. Qinggu was very busy. The kitchen was completely under his control, and the room in the southeast area became a restricted area. No one was allowed to enter, including Jingyu. Jingyu was called in for the first time because it was time to use her blood. In the side room, Qinggu bowed solemnly to Jingyu and said, "May I borrow the blood from Miss Jingyu's fingertip?" Jingyu nodded slightly and looked at the herbs on the table. After the door was closed, Jingyu lifted her hand and removed the jade bead around her neck. Qinggu stood by the side and watched Jingyu's actions. He was a little excited and his gaze was fixed on Jingyu. Chapter 547. When Jingyu slightly closed her eyes, something else rolled in her pitch-black eyes. Under Qingji's astonished gaze, Jingyu's originally pitch-black and bright eyes slowly turned into a dazzling golden and green color. The golden eyes were as hot as fire and carried a faintly discernible sense of oppression, just like a lion or a tiger. The green eyes were cold and proud, carrying a cruel and bestial nature, just like a lone wolf in the dark night. The moment the eyes appeared, Qinggu unconsciously held his breath. He watched as the color in Jingyu's eyes became more and more intense, as if it had reached its peak. Jingyu raised her hand to pick up the needle and pricked her fingertip. Scarlet blood dripped onto the ground and mixed with the medicine. "Is that all?" Jingyu retracted her hand and tilted her head to look at Qinggu as she asked. It's all right." When Qinggu heard Jingyu's question, He suddenly came back to his senses. He looked at Jingyu in amazement and said, "Miss Jingyu, your eyes are really beautiful." Thank you. Jingyu curved her eyebrows and smiled. It was so dazzling. When she raised her hand to take the jade bead and was about to put it back on, she suddenly felt her body tremble. It seemed like there was a pair of eyes staring at her from somewhere. This feeling made Jingyu panic for no reason. Her eyes flashed with astonishment, but when she tried to sense it more carefully, she found nothing. "Thank you, Miss Jingyu." Chingu watched as Jingyu put on the jade bead and her eyes turned black again. He solemnly bowed to Jingyu and thanked her. He couldn't wait to leave with the medicine. Jingyu left the courtyard and returned to her room. She thought about the gaze she felt when she took off the jade bead and felt a faint unease in her heart. Could it be that she was mistaken? Sure enough, I've been a little tired recently, and I've started to hallucinate. What Jingyu didn't know was that in a certain inn in the northern pastoral imperial city, several men were sitting together with a very strange mirror in their hands. The mirror looked like a mirror, but it didn't look like one. When Jingyu took off the jade bead and revealed her strange pupils, the mirror suddenly flashed with a dazzling light. "Fifth Elder. There's movement." A middle-aged man was holding a mirror and suddenly shook it violently. The mirror emitted a dazzling light. It was so dazzling that 3 or 4 people around him were shocked and walked over. "Where is it?" Another slightly older man suddenly opened his eyes and asked coldly, "I'm looking for it." The person holding the mirror seemed to be calculating something. However, at this moment, the light on the mirror suddenly extinguished, and everything returned to its original state. It was as if nothing had existed. Such a scene made everyone's eyes sink. "I saw that the previous holy maiden passed on the item to this generation's person with strange pupils," the old man slowly said. "Fifth Elder, I think this generation's person with strange pupils must be a very evil person. Otherwise, why would she repeatedly obstruct us from finding her?" On the other side, an old man with a braid said, "Sixth Elder, it's too early to say that." The fifth elder slightly narrowed his eyes and said, "The high priest said that we should distinguish between good and evil. This is related to the fate of the Wu clan. Such a big matter can't be done casually. Before we see the person with strange pupils, it's best not to make wild guesses." Then let's wait and see." The sixth elder coldly snorted, flicked his sleeves and left. Chapter 548. Fifth Elder, what do we do now? The person holding the mirror looked at the 2 elders and slightly frowned as he raised his head and asked, "Since it was found in the northern pastoral area, then we'll start searching in the northern pastoral area." The 5th elder took a deep breath and said, "We must find the person with different pupils before the 6th elder. Otherwise, I'm afraid something big will happen." Peace was restored in the inn. No one knew what had happened inside. As for Jingyu herself, she was sleeping soundly in her room. In the past 10 days, there had been no movement inside at all. Jingyu also didn't know what had happened inside. However, Muyu came several times, saying that he was looking for 9th Master Xiao. Because Xiao Chen was still being treated, Jingyu sent Muyu away and told him to come back in half a month. Muyu came excitedly and left dejectedly. Jingyu curiously asked Muyu. Immediately, Muyu was so shocked that he didn't dare to come to the courtyard to find Xiao Chen. He said that he would come back after Xiao Chen's illness was cured. Jingyu had nothing to do, so she often took the 2 big guys, Yin Jian and Yin Feng, for a stroll in the mountains to hunt some game or something. She couldn't let these 2 big guys be bored out of their minds. More than 10 days passed leisurely like this. Finally, when Jingyu returned from outside, she saw Qinggu sitting in the main hall drinking tea. "Miss Jingyu, you're back?" Qinggu stood up and bowed slightly to Jingyu. He said, "This one didn't disappoint you. The poison in 9th brother's body has been completely removed." "Really?" Jingyu's eyes flashed with surprise. Qinggu slowly nodded and looked past Jingyu to Jingyu's back. Jingyu was slightly startled and slowly turned around to look. At the entrance of the main hall, Xiao Chen was quietly standing at the entrance. His black robe was so calm, but it seemed to have a dazzling light. Jingyu's heart trembled slightly. She watched as Xiao Chen lifted his robe and stepped over the threshold, walking towards her step by step. Xiao Chen was still Xiao Chen. His appearance hadn't changed, and his figure hadn't changed. However, the aura around Xiao Chen seemed to have changed. However, she couldn't pinpoint what was different about it. Xiao Chen. Jing Yu called out Xiao Chen's name in a daze. Qing Ji's gaze moved between Xiao Chen and Jing Yu. Finally, as though he had put down something important, he walked away with a comfortable smile on his face, leaving behind Jing Yu and Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen replied calmly. He was still so indifferent and cold, as though it was torture for him to say another word. Jing Yu smiled. It's great that you're back. Jing Yu walked towards Xiao Chen and looked up at Xiao Chen's handsome face. Her eyes were filled with comfort and joy. You're back. Xiao Chen put his arm around Jing Yu's waist and looked at Jing Yu with sparkling eyes. You're back. He had come back twice. Although his tone was the same, Jing Yu could clearly feel the strong joy, excitement, and affection in his voice. It made Jing Yu's heart tremble violently. She hugged Xiao Chen's waist back and buried her head in his chest. All her worries and uneasiness were completely put down. Xiao Chen had returned in one piece. In order to express the warmest celebration, Jing Yu specially invited the chef from the Northern Pastoral Restaurant to prepare the biggest carnival in history. Mu Yu and Heli and Theo both sent invitations. Inviting Heli and Theo was actually Xiao Chen's initiative. This surprised Jing Yu for a long time. It seemed like a good sign. Could it be that the two of them were ready to reconcile? Chapter 549. There was still some time before the banquet, but Xiao Chen was nowhere to be seen. When she asked Xing Er told her that Xiao Chen had something to do and had gone out. This made Jing Yu depressed for a long time. When no one said anything, she naturally ran to the kitchen to eat and drink. When night fell, the banquet was completed perfectly. Xiao Chen also appeared at the right time. Heli and Theo was also there miraculously. Mu Yu was also there. When he saw Qinggu, he looked at him as if he had seen his own brother. His eagerness made Jing Yu's hair stand on end. Could this guy have taken a liking to Qinggu? The banquet was unusually lively. Xiao Chen and Heli and Theo sat together and drank and chatted calmly. Jing Yu was very happy about this. Congratulations. Heli and Theo raised his glass slightly to Xiao Chen. Thank you, Xiao Chen responded. Don't let her down. If there is a next time, you will never have the chance to find her again, Heli and Theo continued. The deep meaning in his eyes made Xiao Chen's expression turn slightly gloomy. There won't be a next time, Xiao Chen responded faintly. He glanced at Heli and Theo from the corner of his eyes and said, You won't have the chance. After saying this, he directly hugged Jing Yu and left the banquet. Jing Yu put down the chopsticks in her hand in a flurry. She hadn't eaten enough yet. How could they leave? When everyone saw Xiao Chen and Jing Yu leave the banquet, no one stopped them. This strange phenomenon made Jing Yu frown. Xiao Chen hugged Jing Yu and walked towards the inner courtyard. Jing Yu blinked strangely and asked, Don't you need to say hello to them? They just left like this. I have already said hello to them. Xiao Chen agreed silently. Finally, he held Jing Yu's hand and stopped in front of a door. Jing Yu looked at Xiao Chen curiously. Xiao Chen stood behind Jing Yu with his hands behind his back. There was a faint smile at the corner of his mouth. He didn't say anything. Instead, he raised his head slightly and raised his chin toward the door. Obviously, he was asking Jing Yu to open the door. What is it? Why are you being so mysterious? Jing Yu looked at Xiao Chen's expression and blinked. She raised her hand and pushed the door open. A red veil floated in front of her eyes. One after another, candles flickered brightly on the heart-shaped rose petals on the floor. The same words were written on the heart-shaped rose petals. It was the same words that were written at the bottom of the restaurant. Jing Yu looked at the scene in front of her in shock. Her lips curled into a faint smile. Behind her, Xiao Chen stepped into the room and closed the door behind him. He walked forward and wrapped his arms around Jing Yu's waist from behind. He tilted his head and asked softly in Jing Yu's ear, Do you like it? I didn't scold you enough the last time. You want to do it again this time? Jing Yu's eyes were full of smiles. She turned around and looked at Xiao Chen with a gentle gaze. She smiled and said, I think that after we go back, Qinggu and Yijuan will definitely be beaten up badly, right? Not badly. Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows slightly and said seriously, they'll just be hanging upside down from the rafters for a day. Jing Yu's eyes were full of smiles. There was a faint scent of incense at the tip of her nose. How could Jing Yu not know Xiao Chen's motive for doing this? I like it very much. Jing Yu slowly moved closer to Xiao Chen and hooked her arms around Xiao Chen's neck. Her eyes were bright and sparkling. Xiao Chen's embrace around Jing Yu's waist tightened inch by inch. He stared at Jing Yu's fair cheeks and said softly, I originally wanted to save our best night for our wedding, but I can't wait any longer. From the beginning, I didn't want you to wait either. Jing Yu's lips curled into a sly smile. She said softly, it was someone who acted on his own initiative and wanted to endure it. How could I reject him? Jing Yu? Xiao Chen's breathing stopped when he heard this. He gritted his teeth and looked at Jing Yu. A feeling called frustration filled Xiao Chen's mind. Chapter 550. Jing Yu's hands were restrained, so she couldn't do anything to stop him. Once again, the room was filled with sounds that would make one blush. By the time Jing Yu and Xiao Chen finally got out of bed, it was already noon. Xiao Chen carried Jing Yu to take a bath. Only then did she feel that she had recovered some of her strength. She stood in front of the bronze mirror and put on her clothes. She turned her head to look at Xiao Chen, who looked refreshed as he tied his belt. Jing Yu immediately felt a deep resentment in her heart. They were both rolling around in bed, but why wasn't he tired at all? Even the heavens couldn't tolerate this. Could it be because Xiao Chen was on top? It looked like she had to make a comeback. Jing Yu couldn't help but think this in her heart. Suddenly, Xiao Chen hugged her from behind, causing her to tremble in fright. What are you thinking about? Xiao Chen's lips curved slightly as he leaned over to ask Jing Yu. Nothing, I'm really hungry. Let's go eat. Jing Yu hurriedly pushed Xiao Chen away. Of course, she couldn't say that she was thinking about how to suppress him. If Jing Yu said that, the two of them would probably roll back into bed in the next second. Jing Yu pushed Xiao Chen out of the room. Ah, eldest miss, you're finally up. When Jing Yu walked into the main hall, she happened to see Nuan Yu preparing to serve breakfast. Ninth brother, ninth sister-in-law, did you sleep well last night? Qing Gu leisurely walked into the main hall. His gaze lingered on Xiao Chen and Jing Yu as he asked this with a grin. Jing Yu's face instantly turned red when she heard this. Very good. Xiao Chen looked up happily at Qing Gu as he replied indifferently. Haha. Qing Gu laughed heartily and winked at Xiao Chen. Jing Yu glared fiercely at him and he immediately became obedient. The two of them had just finished eating lunch when they saw Xing Yi walk in with a serious expression. Jing Yu was holding a cup of tea and was slightly surprised to see Xing Yi walking over. Xiao Chen slowly put down his hand and narrowed his eyes at Xing Yi, waiting for him to speak. Master, there is news from the palace. Xing Yi raised his hand and handed a letter to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen silently took the letter and opened it. When he glanced at the contents, his face instantly became gloomy. His suppressed anger made the temperature in the room drop. Jing Yu was shocked. What kind of news made Xiao Chen so angry? When was the news? Xiao Chen coldly stared at Xing Yi and asked. 3 days ago. Xing Yi lowered his head and bowed. What else is there? Xiao Chen took a deep breath and clenched his fists while looking at Xing. The emperor issued an edict to let Master go back to the imperial palace to marry Princess Leang. If he didn't return to the imperial palace within 3 months, the emperor will send an edict to confiscate Xiao Wangfu and kill them all for the crime of treason. Xing Yi lowered his head and said. Jing Yu gasped and looked at Xiao Chen in shock. What a good method. Xiao Chen didn't get angry but smiled. Instead, he narrowed his eyes and coldly said, the Empress Dowager finally made a move. Such a despicable plan is nothing more than forcing this king to submit. Since that's the case, I would like to see how you plan to deal with this king. Jing Yu slowly became silent. Her eyebrows slightly wrinkled and her face became gloomy. Then, she suddenly looked at Xiao Chen and asked, Xiao Chen, do you want to be the emperor? I don't want to be the emperor. Xiao Chen's eyes were full of disdain and sarcasm. He faintly squinted his eyes and said, if I want to be the emperor, I would have taken the throne 10 years ago. Chapter 551. Since you don't want to be emperor, why does the Empress Dowager want to kill you again and again? Jing Yu frowned. She looked at Xiao Chen and asked, raising a tiger will invite calamity? Cutting the weeds and eliminating the roots? She wants her son to sit on the throne without any worries? Perhaps. Xiao Chen stood up indifferently. He looked at Jing Yu with a burning gaze and said, originally, I could turn a blind eye to these so-called tricks, but now it's different. Jing Yu, this king wants to protect you for the rest of your life. Since we're here, let's end it here. Xiao Chen. Jing Yu's heart trembled. She looked at Xiao Chen with a warm gaze. Jing Yu, come back to the Tokyo with me, okay? Xiao Chen reached out his hand to Jing Yu. Jing Yu raised her eyebrows and held Xiao Chen's hand. Her eyes were bright and moving. Due to the urgency of the matter, everyone had to return to the Tokyo without any preparation. Jing Yu brought Nuanyu back with her. The rest of the people remained in the northern pastoral. Now that the business in the northern pastoral had stabilized, there wouldn't be any problems if they continued to expand. During this time, Xiao Chen took Qin Ge to the Mu Palace. He didn't say what they were going to do, and Jing Yu was too lazy to ask. On the 5th day, Jing Yu and Xiao Chen boarded the carriage to return home. They took Yin Jian and Yin Feng along the mountain road and headed back to the Tokyo. What did you say? Miss Jing Yu left. Jing Yu had only been gone for a few days when a row of horse carriages stopped in front of the gate. The carriages were filled with fresh flowers and jewels. When Xiao Wenshi opened the gate, he saw this scene. The corners of his eyes twitched and he looked at the people in front of him with a black face. She was dressed in a bright red robe, with a peony flower on her head and a fan in her hand. It was already autumn. Was she really not cold? Yes, boss went back to Tokyo 2 days ago. Xiao Wenshi coughed and replied calmly. Why didn't you tell me? AI. Who the fuck is yours? Xiao Wenshi might not be able to hold himself back from slapping this shameless bastard to death if he continued to speak. Big brother Xiao, what's the commotion? After a busy night last night, Lu Man had just woken up when she heard the commotion outside the courtyard. She slightly frowned and yawned as she walked towards the door. She raised her voice and called out with a lazy expression on her face. Oh, it's nothing big. I'm here to look for boss. Xiao Wenshi turned around and smiled at Lu Man. Oh, you're here to look for boss. Lu Man turned around and saw Mu Yu standing in front of the gate in a daze. He was dressed in a bright red robe and had a peony flower on his head. He was currently staring at Lu Man with his mouth slightly open and saliva almost dripping out. Stunner! Stunner of the world! Mu Yu was dazzled as he looked at Lu Man, who was standing not far away. Lu Man's tight-fitting robe outlined her perfect waist. Compared to Jing Yu, Lu Man's mature seduction was even more obvious. Oh, isn't this young Prince Mu? Lu Man mingled in the business world and was familiar with all the high-ranking officials and dignitaries in the imperial city. Naturally, she knew who this young Prince Mu was. With one look at his shocking attire, she knew this was young Prince Mu. Chapter 552. Ahem. Mu. Nice to meet you. Mu Yu coughed, pretending to be a gentleman, and raised his hand to Lu Man. Young Prince Mu, what are you doing here? Lu Man's eyes turned and looked at Mu Yu strangely. So this is the young Prince Mu who flirted with the young master of the Mu family. This king is here to give you a gift. Mu Yu rolled her eyes and said with a beaming face, Men, why aren't you bringing the things up? Hearing this, a group of attendants hurriedly came forward and handed the things containing jewelry and flowers to Lu Man, young Prince Mu. Xiao Wenshi's face darkened. He raised his foot to block Mu Yu's line of sight and blocked Mu Yu outside. With a cold face, he said, She doesn't want your things. Young Prince Mu, you'd better give them to someone else. After that, Xiao Wenshi didn't give Mu Yu a chance to speak and closed the door without saying a word. Hey, Mu Yu quickly stepped forward, slapped the door and shouted, Miss, what's your name? This king is sincere to you. The row of attendants behind Mu Yu all dripped cold sweat from their foreheads. They had only met once, and he didn't even know her name. How could he be sincere to her? Behind the door, Xiao Wenshi sighed faintly. He turned his head and looked at Lu Man, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Lu Man said with a strange expression, "This young Prince Mu really deserves to be the #1 eccentric in the Northern Pastoral." Ha! Xiao Wenshi laughed heartily. "I heard from the boss that this young Prince Mu is still infatuated. If he takes a fancy to a girl, he will pester her. I reckon that in the future, I'm afraid our courtyard won't be peaceful." Sigh. Lu Man rubbed her head in annoyance and sighed with a frown. The boss left so decisively. Plus, I wonder where the boss is now. Lu Man walked toward her courtyard. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen had been on the road for 2 days. She didn't know where they were now. They didn't take the main road and only took the deserted paths so that Yin Jian and Yin Feng could walk outside without scaring the passers-by. The journey took 2 months. Jing Yu couldn't stand the bumpiness of the carriage, so she sometimes sat in the carriage and sometimes rode the horse. She had a lot of fun along the way, and there were no assassinations. This made Jing Yu, who was nervous and on guard, a little surprised. "Have we arrived yet?" Jing Yu didn't know how many times she had asked this question. In the carriage, Jing Yu covered her face and lay on Xiao Chen's lap. She moved around restlessly. On the other hand, Xiao Chen leaned against the wall of the carriage. He supported his chin with one hand and read a book with the other. "Ah, I can't stand it." Jing Yu jumped up and stared at Xiao Chen seriously and said, "Let's play a game." Xiao Chen raised his hand and threw the book aside. He squinted at Jing Yu and said, "Do you want to play the stripping game again?" Puff. Jing Yu spat out a mouthful of blood. She stepped forward and grabbed Xiao Chen's neck, shouting angrily, "You treacherous villain! You're basically cheating." Jing Yu grabbed Xiao Chen crazily. Last time, Jing Yu wanted to tease Xiao Chen, so she played a game of rock paper scissors with him. The loser had to take off their clothes. In the end, Xiao Chen didn't take off a single piece of clothing, but Jing Yu was completely naked. Chapter 553. To Jing Yu, who had always won rock paper scissors, this was simply humiliating. The most humiliating thing was that this rock paper scissors game was taught to Xiao Chen by Jing Yu. Is that so? Xiao Chen hugged Jing Yu's waist and said with a smile, "Why don't we try again and see if you can turn the tables? Let me tell you, this time, I will definitely strip you naked." Jing Yu's cry was rather awe-inspiring. However, the truth was that after entering the Imperial City, Jing Yu had to hold onto her waist to get off the carriage. Her feet were soft when she stepped on the ground. Dongqing Imperial City, which had not been seen for a long time, was still as bustling as before. There were not many changes. The carriage stopped in front of the Prime Minister's residence. Jing Lang and Jing Zhan had already received the news and were waiting in front of the gate of the Prime Minister's residence. Xiao Chen got off the carriage first, and only then did Jing Yu get off with his help. Jing Zhan and Jing Lang excitedly greeted her. Jing Yu looked up and saw that Jing Lang was actually walking with crutches. He was no longer in a wheelchair. Jing Yu was excited. She looked at Qinggu with eyes full of gratitude and a happy smile on her face. She quickly walked over to greet them. "Father, big brother." Jing Yu walked forward and bowed slightly to Jing Zhan and Jing Lang. You're back. Let father see if you've lost weight." Jing Lang strenuously propped himself up with his crutches and pulled Jing Yu's hand to examine it. The warmth coming from Jing Zhan's palm made Jing Yu's heart tremble slightly. She reached back to hold Jing Zhan's hand. "Father, I've gained weight in the Northern Pastoral. I haven't lost weight." Jing Yu smiled. Jing Lang walked up and rubbed Jing Yu's head. He looked up at Xiao Chen and the others and said, "Don't stand outside. Come in and sit." "Lord Jing, this king won't be coming in." Xiao Chen stood with his hands behind his back. He looked at Jing Zhan and Jing Lang with a serious expression and said, "This king has to go to the palace first. Also, in 5 days, someone will come to give the betrothal gifts. This king wants to marry Jing Yu." Jing Zhan and Jing Lang were slightly stunned. They looked at Jing Yu in confusion. "I understand." Jing Yu's heart skipped a beat. She said, "Go, I will wait for you at the Prime Minister's manor." "Jing Yu, wait for me." Xiao Chen looked at Jing Yu affectionately. He lowered his head slightly and pressed a kiss on Jingyu's forehead. He stroked Jingyu's hair and then led Qinggu and the others in the direction of the prince's manor. Jingyu watched as Xiaoqun left. Her eyes narrowed slightly. The people in the prime minister's manor chatted fervently until afternoon. Jingyu washed up and changed into clean clothes. She then went to Jing Zhan's study in the prime minister's manor. Jing Zhan and Jing Lang were already waiting in the study. You've come. Jing Zhan and Jing Lang sat at the table. They weren't surprised to see Jingyu arrive. It was as if they already knew that Jingyu would come. Father, big brother. Jingyu walked over and naturally sat down in the empty seat next to them. The three didn't talk nonsense. Jingyu didn't hide anything and told them about the matter between her and Xiaoqun. She also explained why she suddenly broke the engagement. Jing Zhan and Jing Lang, who were confused and didn't understand, finally understood the cause and effect. They also knew about Nailinyu. What's going on in the imperial city right now? Jingyu explained her situation clearly and couldn't wait to ask about the situation in the imperial city. Chapter 554. The second prince and the Empress Dowager are working together. Jing Zhan frowned slightly and said, "Right now, the imperial city is not stable. I don't know where the news came from, but it's said that when the late emperor passed away, he secretly hid an imperial edict. This imperial edict is the real one." What? Jing Yu's eyes widened. She looked at Jing Zhan in confusion and said, "Could it be that there is another copy of the Tokyo Emperor's abdication edict? Then what does Emperor Xiao Yi mean? There are rumors everywhere that the late emperor intended to make the ninth emperor's emperor, but someone hid the imperial edict and made a fake one to let the current emperor, Xiao Yi, ascend the throne." Jing Zhan's expression was serious as he said, "There is another rumor saying that the ninth emperor is plotting a rebellion, inciting the people, and disobeying the imperial edict." Damn it. Jing Yu's face was livid with anger. The Empress Dowager used the disobeying imperial edict to forcefully summon the ninth emperors back. Jing Zhan pursed his lips and said, "The emperor decreed for the ninth emperors to marry Princess Leong. The ninth emperors disobeyed the imperial edict and went to the northern pastoral alone, ignoring the imperial edict. This is the crime of disobeying the imperial edict." Originally, the ninth emperor's disobeying the imperial edict was not a big deal. However, the second prince got the news from somewhere and said that the ninth emperor was secretly recuperating and plotting a rebellion. Someone even incited the people, causing this matter to blow up. Unfortunately, the ninth emperor was in the northern pastoral and could not suppress this matter. Now it has developed to this state. Jing Zhan frowned and said, "So all of this is the work of the Empress Dowager and Xiao Jingran?" Jing Yu slowly frowned and asked in confusion, "How did the news of the late emperor's imperial edict spread? Why would the Empress Dowager suddenly want the ninth emperors to marry Princess Leong?" "I secretly sent people to investigate. This news seems to have come from the emperor's harem. However, I don't know who it came from." Jing Lang slightly raised his eyes and looked at Jing Yu and said, "Right now, things are a bit troublesome. There's an imperial edict to marry Princess Leong. Over here, the ninth emperor wants to marry you. You have to be careful." "I know." Jing Yu frowned slightly and said, "I'm going out for a while. I'll have to trouble father and big brother to pay attention to the movements in the palace." Jing Lang and Jing Zhan both nodded. Jing Yu casually said a few words and then left. Yu Qianlai restaurant was still very lively. Jing Yu's return made Shen Yuqing excited for a long time. The private room was still reserved for Jing Yu. Jing Yu casually asked about the situation in the restaurant and then sat in the private room. At the same time, she asked people to call Shangguan Linglan, Lu Miaoqiu, Fang Zicheng, and the others. Jing Yu sat in the private room and drank tea. She played with the teacup in her hand and looked at the street with a serious expression. It seemed that the situation in the imperial city was worse than she had imagined. Jing Yu was thinking when she heard a knock on the door. Jing Yu looked up. "Jing Yu." Shangguan Linglan walked out first. Yeah. Then came Lu Miaoqiu. After about half a year, Lu Miaoqiu's appearance was very different from half a year ago. Her face was bright and clear, and her eyes were very moving. Her clothes were also made of high-quality materials. It was obvious that the current Lu Miaoqiu was no longer the destitute concubine's daughter. "You're here." Jing Yu quickly stood up to welcome them. "Jing Yu, why did you suddenly come back? Just now, someone said that they saw the 9th emperors bring you back." "I didn't believe it." Shangguan Linglan looked at Jing Yu and asked. Chapter 555. Things happened suddenly, so I came back. Jing Yu pulled the two of them to sit down and explained the cause and effect of the matter. She sighed slightly and said, "This was all that woman's trick. I underestimated her and was blinded by such a despicable trick." "Yeah, this isn't your fault." Lu Miaoqiu reached out and held Jing Yu's hand. She said very seriously, "If it wasn't for that nail in you playing tricks and taking advantage of the weakness between you two, how could things have ended up like this? It's all in the past. This time, I definitely won't let that woman go." Jing Yu's eyes flashed with murderous intent. She narrowed her eyes and looked at Lu Miaoqiu and Shangguan Linglan. She asked, "The reason why I called you here in such a hurry today is because of Shao Chen. I knew you would ask about the 9 emperors." Shangguan Linglan sighed deeply and said, "I'm afraid this matter will be difficult to handle. My father didn't say anything, so I'm afraid it won't be easy to handle." "I understand. What I want to know now is who started this." Jing Yu's expression was slightly cold. She turned her head and looked at Shangguan Linglan and Lu Miaoqiu. After hearing Jing Yu's words, Shangguan Linglan shrugged his shoulders and blinked his eyes, indicating that he didn't know. After hearing Jing Yu's words, Lu Miaoqiu's expression became a bit strange. She lowered her head slightly as if thinking about what to say. Jing Yu and Shangguan Linglan both saw Lu Miaoqiu's strange expression. The two of them looked at each other, then turned to look at Lu Miaoqiu and asked, "Miaoqiu, what do you know?" Shangguan Linglan's heart trembled slightly. He narrowed his eyes and looked at Lu Miaoqiu and asked, "Miaoqiu, you are now so close to the crown prince that you are already at the stage of discussing marriage. You also frequently go in and out of the palace. You must know something, right?" "Yeah, this matter." Lu Miaoqiu bit her lips with some difficulty and finally sighed deeply. She turned her head to look at Shangguan Linglan and said, "Ye doesn't know the current situation in the palace. Anlan, you must know. Who do you think can speak in front of the Empress Dowager and gain her favor?" "Harem. Empress Dowager." Shangguan Linglan's breathing suddenly stopped and his expression became a bit strange. "What's wrong? Could it be Fu Ruoqing's doing?" When Jing Yu heard that it was related to the Empress Dowager, she immediately frowned and asked, "Jing Yu, you haven't been in the Tokyo Palace for so long. You don't know that the palace is no longer under Imperial concubine Fu's control." Lu Miaoqiu sighed deeply and said, "Imperial concubine Fu and the Empress fought until both sides were injured. Right now, the Empress is worshipping Buddha in the temple hall and Imperial concubine Fu has been moved to the Daming Hall to recuperate. It is said to be recuperation, but it is actually house arrest." "What? How could it be like this?" Jing Yu frowned. How could the two have fought until both sides were injured? Jing Yu's heart was filled with confusion. She raised her head to look at the two and asked, "Then who is in charge of the palace right now?" Yeah, it is Imperial concubine Xiangyuan." Lu Miaoqiu slightly pursed her lips and said, "It is Ning Xiangyun." Jing Yu's breathing stopped slightly and her expression froze. Her brows slowly furrowed and her mind quickly worked. In half a year, Ning Xiangyuan had climbed from a concubine to the position of 4th Imperial concubine. She had even overthrown Imperial concubine Fu and the Empress. If this continued, wouldn't it not be long before Ning Xiangyuan replaced Fu Ruoqing? Chapter 556. Jing Yu sank into deep thought. Before this, hadn't Fu Ruoqing wholeheartedly supported Ning Xiangyuan? If his guess was correct, Fu Ruoqing must have been stabbed in the back by Ning Xiangyuan when she was fighting with the Empress. However, since Ning Xiangyuan had made a move against Fu Ruoqing, why did she want the 9th imperial uncle to marry Fu Ruoqing's younger sister, Fu Liang? Was it for revenge? Revenge against who? Revenge against Fu Ruoqing, who disgusted her. Or need to take revenge against her. Jingyu frowned deeply, her fingers unconsciously tapping on the table. Lu Miaoqiu and Shengguan Linglong looked at each other and said, Jingyu, don't be sad. I'm afraid this matter is not so simple. How did Ning Xiangyuan know the authenticity of the imperial edict? I've thought about it, and it must have been spread by the empress or imperial concubine Fu. It's not the empress. Jingyu slowly shook her head and said, Fu Ruoqing would definitely not harm Xiaochen. There must be some secret we don't know about. Then what do we do now? This happened in the royal palace. I really don't know how to investigate. Shengguan Linglong said with a frown, somewhat conflicted. Lanlan, you forgot, there's still me. Lu Miaoqiu covered her smile and said, I am now the crown princess, and can enter the eastern palace as I wish. Perhaps I can find a chance to visit the harem. That's right. Shengguan Linglong clapped his hands in surprise. He solemnly patted Lu Miaoqiu's shoulder and said, I'll leave this matter to you. Yes, I know. Lu Miaoqiu smiled. Then the three talked about some of the things that had happened in the past 6 months. Fang Zicheng was tied up with business and could not come. Jingyu did not force him. The three of them felt more at ease together. They talked for a while until the sun set in the west, and then the three of them went their separate ways. At night, Jingyu finished bathing and lay on her bed. She stared at the top of the bed, her brows deeply furrowed. Now it was up to Lu Miaoqiu to see if she could bring any useful information. Jingyu sighed and closed her eyes. Only then did she feel a bit sleepy. Suddenly, she felt a cold wind behind her. Jingyu suddenly opened her eyes. A sharp sword aura flew towards Jingyu, directly cutting through the curtain. Jingyu twisted her waist and dodged. The pitch-black dagger in her hand glowed with a cold light. Her pitch-black eyes carried a cold aura in the dark night. Their eyes met, and Jingyu's mouth hooked up into a cold smile. Nailan, you really can't wait. Jingyu looked at the petite woman in black in front of her. She did not need to guess who this person with a murderous aura in front of her was. Nailan looked at Jingyu's nimble figure, and her eyes flashed with surprise as she asked, Why aren't you poisoned? Do you think I'll fall for your tricks again and again? Jingyu's eyes flashed with disdain. She coldly said, We need to properly settle our debts. Damn it. Nailan eyes flashed with an ominous glint. The sharp sword in her hand stabbed out. Jingyu's mouth hooked up into a contemptuous smile. She mercilessly attacked Nailan. Her pitch-black eyes were filled with a deep murderous intent. Her nimble body spun around, and Jingyu was unable to hurt her at all. Her arms, waist, and other places were all stabbed by Jingyu's dagger. The pain from the various small wounds caused Nailan to become irritable. Her stabs were messed up. Jingyu's eyes flashed with a cold light. She flipped the dagger in her hand, jumped up, and ruthlessly slashed towards Nailan neck. Chapter 557. At this moment, Jingyu could clearly feel a deathly stifling aura sweeping towards her. Just as the dagger was about to slice into her neck, an incomparably fierce killing intent rushed towards her from the shadows. A chill ran down Jingyu's spine and she had no choice but to turn around. The dagger in her hand deviated from its path and rolled awkwardly to the side. Mistress! A pitch-black figure quietly appeared. Jingyu's legs trembled slightly as she caught the black-clothed man. She gasped for breath as she looked at Jingyu with a sinister gaze. She raised the sword in her hand and walked towards Jingyu, her eyes filled with killing intent. Jingyu, let's see how you'll escape this time. Nailan eyes flashed with a crazed delight as a voice in her heart screamed, Kill her, kill her. As long as I kill her, Xiaochen will return to my side. Kill her. Jingyu, go die. The sword in Nailan hand didn't slow down as it pierced towards Jingyu. Jingyu's eyes were cold as she tightly gripped the dagger in her hand, preparing to use all of her strength to deal a fatal blow. Just as Jingyu was about to attack, the window was suddenly smashed open and a cold killing intent rushed towards Nailan back without any hesitation. Nailan heart suddenly tightened. The black-clothed man guarding the window was like an arrow as he shot towards the person who had attacked. The black-clothed man's body spun and he raised his hand to strike out. The black-clothed man's eyes suddenly changed as he flew backwards and landed on the ground. Jingyu. A slightly panicked voice sounded out. Jingyu raised her head and saw Xiao Chen, who had jumped down from the window and was running towards her. Xiao Chen's eyes were filled with panic as he quickly grabbed Jingyu's hand to examine her. Are you all right? Or are you hurt? Jingyu, say something. Xiao Chen's eyes were filled with panic as he looked up and down at Jingyu's body. His eyes were filled with anxiety as he saw that Jingyu didn't speak for a long time. He thought that Jingyu's injuries were too serious and she couldn't even speak. Even the words she spat out were slightly trembling. Jingyu grabbed Xiao Chen's hand and gasped for breath before she finally spat out, I'm fine. You're all right? You're really all right? When Xiao Chen heard Jingyu speak, he finally let out a sigh of relief. He tightly held Jingyu's hand as he carefully asked. After Jingyu nodded her head again, Xiao Chen finally relaxed. He turned his head and looked at the two people who had fallen to the side. The man who was completely wrapped in black clothes was clutching his chest as a trace of blood seeped out of the corner of his mouth. Xiao Chen's blade had cut her in the back. At this moment, her eyes were wide open as she looked at Xiao Chen in disbelief. Her lips trembled as she asked, Xiao Chen? Your poison has been cured. If the poison hadn't been cured, how could his internal strength be so deep? It's all thanks to you. Xiao Chen's eyes were cold as he looked at Nailinyu. His eyes were filled with tyranny as he walked step by step towards Nailinyu. He squatted down and grabbed Nailinyu's neck without any mercy. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Who gave you the courage to actually try to kill Jingyu? Xiao Chen's voice was filled with endless coldness. As he spoke, the hand that was grabbing Nailinyu's neck tightened. Nailinyu's eyes were filled with terror as she found it difficult to breathe. Her eyes were bloodshot. Clang. A sword light flew over. Xiao Chen's eyes flashed as he loosened his grip and dodged. He coldly looked to the side and saw that the man in black clothes was staring at Xiao Chen with eyes filled with death. His body quickly flashed. Chapter 558. He pulled something out of his pocket and threw it on the ground. A thick cloud of smoke filled the air. Xiao Chen's face turned cold. He raised his hand to cover his face. When the smoke dissipated, the two people in the room had disappeared. Damn it. Xiao Chen's eyes were extremely cold. Jingyu's eyes showed surprise. So there really were smoke bombs in ancient times. Such a large commotion woke Nuanyu up. She rushed over in a flurry with a group of servants. She saw the blood on the ground and Xiao Chen and Jingyu standing in the room. She was slightly stunned. Only then did Nuanyu ask, Eldest miss, did the thieves escape? It's fine. Clean this place up. You can leave. Jingyu panted slightly. She put the dagger in her hand on the table. She turned her head to look at Xiao Chen and said, Why did you suddenly come here? I was a bit worried because I couldn't see you. Xiao Chen walked over and pulled Jingyu into his arms. He took a deep breath and said, Go live in the prince's mansion. I don't feel safe with you here. It's fine. Jingyu turned around and looked at Xiao Chen. Now is not the time to live in the prince's mansion. Jingyu? Xiao Chen's hand around Jingyu's waist suddenly tightened. He looked at Jingyu with burning eyes and said, I want to marry you. I can't wait any longer. Xiao Chen, do you want to bear the crime of treason? Jingyu looked back at Xiao Chen and asked. As long as I can be with you, I don't care. Xiao Chen didn't even think about it. He looked at Jingyu firmly and said. Hearing this, Jingyu's breath stagnated slightly, and then she said with a faint smile, Okay, then let's marry. Xiao Chen's eyes lit up and were filled with surprise. However, Jingyu's tone changed and she said indifferently, However, I will definitely not let go of the person who dared to scheme against you. Okay. Xiao Chen's eyes were filled with a gentle smile, and his heart was filled with happiness. After Nuanyu tidied up the room, she left with everyone. Jingyu tidied up and lay back on the bed. Xiao Chen untied his belt and looked at Jingyu with a faint smile. Jingyu was creeped out by Xiao Chen's gaze. We haven't married yet. Shouldn't you go back to the manor? Jingyu blinked and looked at Xiao Chen as she asked. I'm not going back. Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows and casually threw his clothes on the screen. He strode toward Jingyu, bent down, and picked up Jingyu to walk to the bed. Hey hey hey! Jingyu cried out in panic. Don't move. I'm not moving. I'm moving very seriously. A smile flashed through Xiao Chen's eyes. His words made Jingyu tremble all over. She immediately felt bad. Control. You have to control. What if your kidneys are damaged? Jingyu pushed away Xiao Chen in a flurry and wanted to hide in the bed. How could Xiao Chen give Jingyu this chance? He raised his hand and grabbed Jingyu's waist. With a flip, he pressed down on Jingyu. You said this king's kidneys are damaged? Xiao Chen's eyes narrowed dangerously. Jingyu's heart was filled with alarm. She screamed in her heart that she was done for. I didn't say that. You heard wrong. Your kidneys are very good. You're not damaged. Jingyu cried out with a bitter face. Is that so? Then how about you experience what it feels like to have a healthy kidney? After Xiao Chen finished speaking, he pressed forward, not giving Jingyu any chance to respond. Jingyu wanted to cry. What did she say? The room was lit by candles and the temperature was hot and warm. After a round of lovemaking, the two people cuddling on the bed had a faint blush on their faces. Jingyu buried her head in Xiao Chen's arms and slightly closed her eyes. After a round of torment, Jingyu was completely exhausted. Chapter 559. Jingyu. Xiao Chen's hand wandered around Jingyu's back, greedily looking at her face. He gently kissed the space between Jingyu's brows and murmured softly, You must have poisoned me, a poison that can never be cured in this lifetime. Hearing this, Jingyu's lips curled into a faint smile. She moved her head and raised it, saying, This poison is called, In this life, I will only love you. Xiao Chen's breathing was slightly heavy. He found Jingyu's lips and kissed her again. Love you very much. Vaguely, she heard the murmur that sounded like an oath. Jingyu passionately responded to Xiao Chen, only wanting to give her everything to him. In the morning, Jingyu was half asleep when she heard the rustling sound of clothes being put on. She slightly furrowed her brows and moved her slightly sore body. Opening her sleepy eyes, she looked over. Xiao Chen was tying his belt. Seeing Jingyu wake up, he walked over with a faint smile. I'll go back first. You sleep a little longer. In a bit, you may have to enter the palace. I'll have someone come to pick you up. Xiao Chen gently stroked Jingyu's hair and leaned over to plant a kiss on Jingyu's forehead. Jingyu murmured in response and continued to close her eyes to sleep. This sleep, when she woke up, she was awakened by Nuanyu's call. Jingyu rubbed her sore waist and turned her neck to scold, Xiao Chen, you bastard! Eldest miss, let this servant help you change. Nuanyu's cheeks were red. She lowered her head, not daring to look at Jingyu. Jingyu waved her hand and said, No need, just tidy up the bed. Nuanyu went forward to tidy up the bed. When she thought that Jingyu and Xiao Chen had slept on this bed last night, she immediately blushed. She quickly tidied up the bed and went to the dressing table to comb Jingyu's hair. Eldest Miss, His Majesty has summoned Eldest Miss to the palace to meet His Majesty. As Nuanyu combed Jingyu's hair, she said, The 9 Emperor's carriage is already waiting outside. We have to hurry. Okay, Jingyu replied nonchalantly. She held the jewelry box in her hands and was picking out the jewelry. Eldest young miss, you must be careful when you enter the palace this time. I heard that Princess Leung will also be entering the palace. It must be because of the 9 Emperor's marriage that eldest young miss is allowed to enter the palace. Nuanyu raised her hand to fasten a hairpin in Jingyu's hair as she spoke in a serious tone. Oh, Jingyu replied calmly and didn't take it seriously at all. Eldest miss, you must be careful when you enter the palace. Don't let someone trick you away. Nuanyu chattered endlessly by Jingyu's ear. Jingyu sighed helplessly and said, Don't worry, I am a minister's daughter. I haven't done anything. The emperor can't kill me, right? This servant is worried for you. Nuanyu pouted and put on the last piece of jewelry for Jingyu. Only then did she take her hand back and say, Eldest miss, how about this? As you wish. Jingyu didn't care too much. In the end, she put on some rouge, drew her eyebrows, and put on some makeup. After changing into formal clothes, she walked out the door. At the door, Xing Er stood in front of a carriage. Seeing Jingyu leave, he bowed slightly and called, "Imperial Consort. We haven't married yet. Can't you change the way you call me?" Jingyu rolled her eyes helplessly and sat in the carriage with Nuanyu's help. Xing Er was slightly silent and didn't speak. After seeing Jingyu sit in the carriage, he directed the carriage to head towards the palace. Chapter 560. The carriage slowly came to a stop in front of the palace gates. Coincidentally, just as Jingyu's carriage stopped, another carriage cut in from the side and blocked in front of her carriage. This caused Jingyu to frown slightly. When she saw the person who walked out of the carriage, Jingyu immediately felt the corners of her eyes twitch. "Eldest young Miss Jing, you've really returned?" Fu Leong stood in front of Jingyu, dressed in an orange-red robe. Her raised eyebrows were somewhat beautiful, but her arrogant expression caused Jingyu to hold her forehead slightly. "Princess Leong, I trust you have been well since we last met." Jingyu bowed slightly to Fu Leong. "Who asked her to be a princess? Today is the day that the emperor decreed our marriage. Jingyu, you can't win against me in the end." Fu Leong stared at Jingyu coldly and said, "No one knows what will happen until the very last moment." Jingyu smiled carelessly. Her confident expression caused Fu Leong to grit her teeth to shatter. She originally thought that Jingyu had already gone to the northern pastoral and that victory was already in her grasp. Who would have thought that the 9th emperors would actually chase after her? This change caused Fu Leong to be greatly affected. She had always wanted to have a showdown with Jingyu, but she had always lost by half a move. Now that she had finally forced the 9th emperors back to the palace, she didn't expect that Jingyu would actually follow them back. Furthermore, the first thing the 9th emperors did after entering the palace was to request for an imperial edict to marry Jingyu. He had directly ignored the imperial edict from before. He clearly wanted to marry her, but the 9th emperors actually didn't give her any face at all. Fu Leong gritted her teeth in her heart. Just as the two of them were about to continue talking, a sedan came from the other side. Under their gazes, Lu Miaoqiu stepped out of the sedan in a blue palace dress. Her dignified appearance and appropriate attire made Jingyu's eyes light up. "Miss Lu." Jingyu and Fu Leong both bowed slightly to Lu Miaoqiu. Lu Miaoqiu acted as if she didn't see Fu Leong. She stepped forward and held Jingyu's hand in surprise. She said happily, "Yeah, why are you here? Are you going to the palace?" "Yes, His Majesty summoned me to the palace." Jingyu smiled at Lu Miaoqiu. Lu Miaoqiu pulled Jingyu's hand and said, "That's good. I'm going to the palace too. It's still a long way to go. You can take the sedan chair with me." "Miss Lu, I'm afraid that's not very appropriate." When Fu Leong heard this, he was immediately unhappy. They were all going to leave, so why was Jingyu allowed to sit in the sedan chair? "It's Princess Leong." When Lu Miaoqiu heard this, she seemed to have discovered Fu Leong. She smiled shyly and said, "I'm really sorry. I was blind and didn't recognize you. I thought you were Yeya's servant girl." "You." Upon hearing this, Fu Leong's expression changed abruptly. He was livid with rage. "However, this sedan chair of mine was personally approved by His Majesty. I can let whoever I want sit in it. Princess Leong, aren't you controlling too much?" Lu Miaoqiu covered her mouth and smiled. She said, "Does Princess Leong think that His Majesty's decree is inappropriate? I don't dare." Fu Leong gritted his teeth and replied, "Since you know that you don't dare, I'll give Princess Leong a piece of advice. There are some things that you shouldn't say too much. If you say too much and make a mistake, you'll lose your head." Lu Miaoqiu smiled respectfully at Fu Leong and said, "We'll be leaving first. Princess Leong should quickly follow us." Lu Miaoqiu glanced at Fu Leong and left with Jingyu. The sedan chair waiting at the entrance of the palace slowly left under Fu Leong's angry gaze. Inside the sedan chair, Lu Miaoqiu looked at Fu Leong's embarrassed and angry face and her eyes were full of smiles. Chapter 561. Tisk, Tiske. When did your little mouth become so powerful? Jingyu was amazed. She looked at Lu Miaoqiu from head to toe. She really couldn't see the Lu Miaoqiu who would shrink back whenever something happened. Was the imperial palace really so mysterious that it could change a person so much? Yeah, you're making fun of me again. Lu Miaoqiu pulled Jingyu's hand in dissatisfaction and said, I just can't stand Fu Leong bullying others. Haha, now it's amazing. You can be considered a person with power. Jingyu laughed loudly. Lu Miaoqiu repeatedly cried out for injustice. The two chatted enthusiastically on the sedan chair. After a few turns, the sedan chair finally stopped at an intersection. Up ahead is the Emperor's Imperial Study. I can't go there, so I can only send you here. Lu Miaoqiu pointed at the palace door in front of them. It's fine. I've been here many times. Jingyu sighed and said, Jingyu, you have to be careful. I'm going to the Eastern Palace now. I'll ask around. Lu Miaoqiu pulled Jingyu's hand and said, Don't worry. Jingyu nodded and the two separated. Lu Miaoqiu looked at Jingyu's figure as she walked away. Her eyes were filled with worry. She bit her lip and sat on the sedan chair, saying, Go to the Eastern Palace. Jingyu walked towards the Imperial Study. When she arrived, Xiao Chen and the others were already inside. Xiao Chen was sitting to the side with a cold face. The atmosphere in the Imperial Study was heavy. As Jingyu walked closer, everyone's eyes also focused on her. Greetings to the Emperor. Jingyu walked in and knelt down to salute. Every time she entered the palace, saluting was something Jingyu hated the most. Rise. Xiao Yi said coldly. Jingyu stood up and looked around. There weren't many people around. Jingyu, Zhen is asking you. Were you the one who broke off the engagement? Xiao Yi stared at Jingyu and asked. Jingyu stood in place and looked straight into Xiao Ye's eyes. Zhen is asking you again. Are you the one who is going to marry the 9th emperors? Xiao Yi asked through gritted teeth. Imperial brother, it's this subject brother who wants to marry Jingyu. Xiao Chen stood up and walked to Jingyu's side and bowed to Xiao Yi. Your Majesty, it's me who wants to get married, and it's also Xiao Chen who wants to marry. Jingyu faintly said with a smile. Xiao Ye's face darkened. At this time, a voice came from behind him. Emperor, the 9th emperor wants to marry this subject's daughter, not Jingyu. Jingyu turned to look. Fu Leong had finally arrived. He quickly walked forward and knelt in front of Xiao Yi. This king will definitely not marry you. Xiao Chen grabbed Jingyu's hand and looked coldly at Xiao Yi. Emperor, this subject won't marry anyone other than Jingyu. You impudent. Xiao Yi flew into a rage. He slammed the table and stood up. His eyes were filled with anger as he glared at Xiao Chen and shouted, In your eyes, is there still this emperor? If the emperor thinks there is, then there is. If the emperor thinks there isn't, even if this subject says there is, you won't think there isn't. Xiao Chen straightened his body and looked at Xiao Yi coldly. His words made Jingyu, who was standing beside him, break out in a cold sweat. You. Xiao Ye's eyes widened. He held his chest and his breathing quickened. Emperor, are you all right? Sitting next to the emperor was the most favored Ning Xiongyan, Consort Xiang. Chapter 562. Get out of my way. Xiao Yi was probably angry. He raised his hand and pushed Ning Xiangyuan away. He looked at Xiao Chen with bloodshot eyes and said, I have been tolerant of you again and again, but you have offended me again and again. Xiao Chen, do you really think that we can't do anything to you? This official doesn't think so. Xiao Chen said coldly, This official is only telling your majesty that the person this official wants to marry is Jingyu, not Fu Leong. Good. Very good. Xiao Yi panted heavily and said, I'll let you marry Jingyu. When Xiao Chen and Jingyu heard this, they were slightly startled and then joy appeared in their eyes. However, Jingyu can only be a concubine and Princess Leong can be the main consort. Xiao Yi took a deep breath and stared at Xiao Chen as he slowly said this. This was already a huge concession for Xiao Yi. When Xiao Chen heard this, his expression instantly turned cold. Your Majesty, I will only marry one wife. Jing Yu can only be my one and only wife. I will not marry Fu Leong. Xiao Chen was clearly angry. He didn't even use honorifics and kept saying I. This made everyone's expression change. Ning Xiangyuan was also shocked by Xiao Chen's words. Her eyes were filled with disbelief and a feeling of jealousy and unwillingness surged in her heart. Why was Jing Yu able to obtain Xiao Chen's wholehearted love while she had to enter the palace and serve him with so many women? She also had to be careful at all times. If she wasn't careful, she would be consigned to eternal damnation. Why, Jing Yu? You killed my father and caused my Jing family to cease to exist. I definitely won't let you get what you want. Ning Xiangyuan clenched her fists tightly until she felt the pain of her fingernails piercing her flesh. Only then did she slowly release her hands and silently sit in her seat. Xiao Chen was enraged by Xiao Chen's words. He angrily pointed at Xiao Chen and shouted, Xiao Chen, are you trying to rebel? What does Imperial Brother think? Xiao Chen's lips curled into a cold smile. There was no change in the way he looked at Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi, who was about to explode in anger, suddenly stopped breathing. His face turned red and white. The deep threat in his words made Xiao Yi panic. How dare you? A loud shout came from the door. Everyone was slightly shocked and looked up. They saw the Empress supporting the Empress Dowager as they slowly walked into the hall. The Empress Dowager was dressed in an incomparably luxurious dress and looked very dignified. The Empress was also dressed in a phoenix robe and looked very noble. Greetings, Empress Dowager and Empress. Everyone knelt down. Xiao Yi was a little startled when he saw the Empress Dowager, but he still came down and bowed slightly. Son greets Imperial Mother. Everyone rise. The Empress Dowager flicked her sleeves and sat down. Her pair of sharp eyes scanned the people below. She looked at Jing Yu with a deep sense of scrutiny. Xiao Jiao, tell Aijia, if Aijia wants you to marry Leong, what will you do? The Empress Dowager's eyes turned and fell on Xiao Chen. Her indifferent words carried a deep sense of pressure. If that's the case, son can only be unfilial. Xiao Chen didn't seem to feel the Empress Dowager's pressure at all. He looked back at her indifferently and replied, Ha, good. What a good word. The Empress Dowager suddenly burst into laughter. She angrily glared at Xiao Chen and said, Is it because this vixen bewitched your heart that you disregarded your parents and openly defied the imperial edict? Do you still have my Tokyo ancestors in your eyes? Chapter 563. Xiao Chen turned his head away and remained silent. Good. Aijia sees that you are determined to go against Aijia. The Empress Dowager waved her hand and fiercely said, Someone come. Drag this vixen out and beat her to death. This king wants to see who dares to make a move. Xiao Chen's face suddenly turned cold. He took a step forward. His black robe gave off a frightening aura. His eyes were filled with ruthlessness as he glanced at the guards around him. Everyone stopped in their tracks when they heard Xiao Chen's shout. They were too frightened to move forward. Presumptuous. Xiao Chen, do you want to rebel? The Empress Dowager looked at the situation in front of her. Her heart tightened and she angrily shouted, Empress Dowager, are you forcing this king to rebel? Xiao Chen coldly stared at the Empress Dowager. The murderous intent in his eyes was so obvious. The atmosphere in the hall was on the verge of exploding. Everyone held their breaths. Ning Xiangyuan looked at the scene in front of her in shock. Xiao Chen disregarded everything and went against the Empress Dowager just to protect the person behind him. He didn't even care about the crime of rebellion. To be treated like this by a person, what else can she regret in her life? Jing Yu looked at Xiao Chen, who was standing in front of her. Her heart was shocked, but her mouth revealed a faint smile. She reached out her hand and held Xiao Chen's hand. Xiao Chen seemed to be aware of it, so he held Jing Yu's hand. When the Empress Dowager saw this scene, she suddenly felt angry. Yu Empress Dowager's chest violently fluctuated. Her face was slightly pale. The Empress quickly stepped forward and held the Empress Dowager's arm. Today, I came to the palace to tell Empress Dowager and the Emperor that the person this king wants to marry is Jing Yu, not Fu Leong. This king will decide his own marriage. If anyone dares to touch Jing Yu, Even if this king has to give up the whole Xiao Wangfu, he will not give up. Xiao Chen coldly said these words. He tightly held Jing Yu's hand and looked at the crowd. I am not interested in that position. You don't need to waste your time to deal with me. In my eyes, that position is not even worth a finger of Jing Yu. Xiao Chen, you have big courage. Do you really think that Zhen cannot do anything to you? Xiao Chen's words made his face red. He angrily pointed his finger at Xiao Chen and shouted, Someone come. Arrest this rebellious minister for Zhen. The atmosphere in the main hall instantly stiffened. Countless soldiers rushed in from outside the hall. Fu Liang and Ning Xiangyuan's eyes widened. Jing Yu's lips curved into a mocking smile. She looked at the soldiers who surrounded Xiao Chen and herself. Each one of them was wearing iron armor and holding a spear. Obviously, he had been prepared for this for a long time. Today's visit to the palace was just a trick to lure Xiao Yi into a trap. Xiao Yi had probably planned this for a long time. His fear of Xiao Chen had risen to a considerable height. He was just waiting for Xiao Chen to resist, and then he would be labeled as a traitor. Your Majesty, is this your final goal? Xiao Chen calmly swept his eyes and looked straight at Xiao Yi. When Xiao Yi met Xiao Chen's eyes, he clenched his fists. No matter what he did, he could never see Xiao Chen's eyes. He was too calm, too calm. He was obviously the emperor, but he always had an inexplicable fear of him. What are you still doing? Arrest him. Xiao Yi clenched his fists and shouted. Chapter 564. Yes. The group of generals nervously approached Xiao Chen. Jing Yu stood by Xiao Chen's side the entire time and did not take a step back. The two of them did not let go of each other's hands. Isn't it just the title of a rebellious official? Since I'm already a rebellious official, I might as well kill the emperor. A rebellious official is good. A faint murderous intent flashed in Jing Yu's eyes. She narrowed her eyes and looked coldly at Xiao Yi. However, just as things were about to break out, a loud shout suddenly came from outside the hall. I want to see who dares to touch Xiao Chen. That shout was so earth-shattering that it caused everyone's hearts to tighten. Everyone turned their gazes outside the hall. Fu Ruoqing, who was dressed in a plain brocade robe, stood at the entrance of the hall with a cold expression on her face and a scroll in her hand. Fu Ruoqing, what are you doing? When Empress Fei Yaju saw that it was Fu Ruoqing, her heart skipped a beat and she angrily shouted, Humph, you'll soon know why I'm here, Empress. Fu Ruoqing coldly smiled and said, I'm here to pass down the previous emperor's decree. I ask the emperor to receive the decree. What? The previous emperor? Fei Yaju's expression slightly changed. The Empress Dowager clenched her fists and a trace of panic appeared in her eyes. Does the previous emperor's decree really exist? Has it been found? That's impossible. Imperial Consort, what nonsense are you saying? Xiao Ye's expression also changed as he pointed at Fu Ruoqing and shouted. Fu Ruoqing was not moved by these people's reactions. She proudly stood below and slowly unfurled the decree in her hand in front of everyone. By the will of the heavens, the emperor decrees. The ninth prince has both talent and integrity. He is worthy of being the crown prince. This emperor is deeply gratified. Today, this emperor decrees that the ninth prince, Xiao Chen, will succeed the throne. Let the Tokyo be at peace, by the emperor. Fu Ruoqing read the decree word by word and everyone in the hall instantly turned pale. You impudent! You dare to pass down a fake decree. The Empress Dowager suddenly stood up and angrily shouted, Throw this crazy woman out for this idea. The guards looked at each other. This was the previous emperor's decree. You're rebelling. It was a rebellion. Do you all want to rebel? Is a fake imperial edict inferior to a real emperor? The Empress Dowager was so angry that she was trembling all over. Empress Dowager, you're wrong. Fu Ruoqing looked coldly at the Empress Dowager and Xiao Ye's group. Her lips curled into a mocking smile. Back then, Empress Dowager, didn't you slaughter Prime Minister Gongsuan's entire clan just to cover up the rumors of the true and false imperial edict? He thought that he had found the real imperial edict, but he didn't expect to find out that it was fake after getting it. He simply made the fake imperial edict real and read it out loud, allowing Xiao Yi to ascend to the throne. He even secretly massacred all the people who knew about it. But Empress Dowager, you should know that there is no such thing as an airtight wall in the world. Everything you did was found out by a palace maid. In order to help Xiao Chen ascend the throne, I gave up everything to enter the palace and married an old man who was 20 years older than me. It was all for this day. Huh? Xiao Yi, Empress Dowager, do you really think you can hide it forever? Xiao Ye's face suddenly turned pale. Fu Ruoqing's resentful gaze made Xiao Ye's heart ache. In this harem, only Fu Ruoqing was the one he liked the most. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to dote on her for so long. But today, Fu Ruoqing revealed such a bloody truth. Chapter 565. At this moment, Xiao Ye's heartache was not because of his throne, but because of Fu Ruoqing's evaluation of him. So everything was for Xiao Chen. In order to curry favor with him, she had to compromise. She gave up the chance to marry Xiao Chen just to enter the palace to help Xiao Chen ascend to the throne. This was too funny. Xiao Yi clutched his chest and laughed until it hurt. Fei Yazhu's eyes were filled with shock. Jing Yu also looked at Fu Ruoqing in disbelief. She never thought that this woman would enter the palace to become a concubine for such a reason. So there really was someone who could love so humbly and helplessly. Xiao Chen, I have never let you down. Everything I did was for you. Fu Ruoqing's eyes were filled with tears. Ever since she entered the palace, countless tears of grievance had been deeply swallowed by her. She looked at the man who used to smile at her, but now only looked at her with indifference. She wanted to rush up to him and hug him, but she restrained herself. For the sake of the plan, for the sake of the future, she had to endure. This king has never cared about the throne. Xiao Chen looked deeply at Fu Ruoqing and lightly said, this king already knew about the imperial edict, but this king does not want to be the emperor. Everything you did was your own wishful thinking. This king never asked you to enter the palace to search for the imperial edict. What did you say? Fu Ruoqing looked at Xiao Chen with a dazed expression. The tears on her face had yet to dry as she shouted, Xiao Chen, how can you be so cruel? I have done so much for you. Don't you feel anything at all? Xiao Chen, you are so cruel. Xiao Chen silently looked at Fu Ruoqing and turned his head to the side without saying anything. The entire hall fell into silence. Xiao Yi suddenly walked down step by step. His footsteps and face seemed to have aged overnight. He looked at Fu Ruoqing with a burning gaze. He walked step by step until he was in front of Fu Ruoqing. The emotions in his eyes were very clear. Tell me, have you never truly treated me with sincerity? Xiao Yi asked hoarsely. Sincerity? Fu Ruoqing looked at Xiao Yi with disgust and said, I hate you, I can't wait to kill you. If you hadn't snatched Xiao Chen's throne, how could I have ended up in such a situation? You don't know how disgusted I am with you every day, but I still have to force a smile to please you. I've had enough. Silence. A deathly silence. The crowd fell into silence. Everyone's hearts were in their throats at this moment. Xiao Ye's eyes widened and his breathing quickened. The grief and indignation in his eyes made Jing Yu break out in cold sweat. Fu Ruoqing's words were too ruthless. You look good. Xiao Yi trembled as he turned around. His weak footsteps caused everyone to tremble slightly. Xiao Yi suddenly stopped and clutched his chest. His face paled as he spat out a mouthful of dark red blood on the ground. It was a hair-raising sight. Emperor! My son! The Empress and Empress Dowager were so frightened that their faces turned pale. They almost went limp as they threw themselves at Xiao Yi and caught him who was falling to the side. Emperor, what's wrong? Don't scare Chenxia. Fei Yazhu hugged Xiao Yi and asked in a trembling voice. The Empress Dowager's face was pale as she looked at Xiao Chen. Her hand that was holding Xiao Yi was also trembling. Ninth brother Xiao, in the end, we still can't beat you. Cough cough. You win. Xiao Yi coughed and looked at Xiao Chen with a sad gaze. Xiao Chen clenched his fists slightly. Jing Yu's hand was held by Xiao Chen and she could clearly feel his strength increasing. Chapter 566. Imperial brother, I have never thought of fighting with you. Xiao Chen slowly let go of Jingyu and walked toward Xiao Yi. The Empress Dowager suddenly acted as if she had seen a scourge and stood in front of Xiao Yi. Her eyes were filled with tears as she begged, Xiao Chen, everything was done by Aijia. Don't blame Yi. If you want to vent your anger, then kill Aijia. I was the one who arranged the assassination. I was also the one who arranged for you to be poisoned. Everything was done by me. Yi did not know anything. Take it as me begging you, please let my Yi go. The Empress Dowager trembled as she looked at Xiao Chen, her eyes filled with pleading. Imperial Mother? Xiao Ye's eyes widened as he looked at the Empress Dowager in disbelief. He seemed to be shocked by the Empress Dowager's words and why he did not understand them at all. Xiao Chen silently looked at the Empress Dowager. He raised his hand and took out a ring from his chest. He calmly said, "This was given to me by Imperial Father when he was alive. I do not care about the throne. I only want to live out the rest of my life in peace. I do not care about any rebels or traitors. Imperial brother, I have said before that I have never thought of fighting with you." Xiao Chen casually threw the ring on the ground. He turned and held Jingyu's hand and said, "In this life, all I want is Jingyu. Please fulfill my wish." After saying this, Xiao Chen held Jingyu's hand and calmly walked towards the entrance of the main hall. When the surrounding guards saw Xiao Chen leave, they reflexively retreated backwards. They retreated bit by bit and finally moved to the side to make way. Everyone looked at the two people walking away hand in hand. Their hearts trembled violently and could not calm down for a long time. Ning Xiangyuan slumped to the ground. She had lost. She had lost miserably. She was the one who had leaked the imperial edict. As long as Xiao Yi investigated, she would have no way out. Fu Leong stared blankly at the series of shocking events. Weren't they going to the palace to discuss the marriage? Why was it like this? That high and mighty man didn't care about her at all. He didn't even care about the throne. All he wanted was Jingyu. What ability did she have to compete with Jingyu? She actually wanted to compete with Jingyu for the position of the 9 emperors? What a joke. Fu Ruoqing felt as if a fishbone was stuck in her throat, unable to go up or down. All that was left was unbearable pain. It turned out that everything she had done was her own wishful thinking. She had never thought about whether Xiao Chen really needed her to do so. It was her self-righteousness that caused the two of them, who were originally very close, to become strangers. Xiao Yi and the Empress Dowager stared blankly at the ring on the ground. It was a ring that could be compared to the imperial jade seal and was also the symbol of the heir to the throne. When the late emperor was buried, the Empress Dowager couldn't find this ring even after searching the entire palace. Helpless, she ordered someone to make a fake one. She didn't expect that the ring was actually on Xiao Chen's body. Xiao Chen knew that as the heir to the throne, as long as he said a word, Xiao Chen could pull Xiao Chen off the throne at any time. However, Xiao Chen didn't do so. Instead, he allowed them to plot against him. The Empress Dowager's entire body was trembling. At this moment, she realized how stupid her previous actions were. Xiao Chen silently held Jingyu's hand and walked out of the palace. The sunlight outside carried a faint warmth. When the eunuch waiting at the palace gate saw Xiao Chen and Jingyu walking out hand in hand, his face immediately changed. He fell to his knees and trembled. Chapter 567. Jingyu raised her head and glanced at Xiao Chen, her eyes filled with tenderness. "Xiao Chen." Jingyu called. Xiao Chen tilted his head and looked at Jingyu. "Nothing, I just wanted to call you." Jingyu hugged Xiao Chen's arm in satisfaction. Xiao Chen paused for a moment, then a smile appeared in his eyes. He reached out and held Jingyu in his arms. He rubbed the top of Jingyu's head and said, "I've seen the days. 10 days from now, there will be a good day. I will marry you." Good. Jingyu greedily breathed in Xiao Chen's scent, her brows arched in agreement. Something big had happened in the imperial palace, but there was no news from the outside world. No one knew what exactly had happened inside. They only knew that the emperor had fallen ill, and then there was news that Princess Leong had taken the initiative to annul the engagement. After that, The people of the Wang Fu sent betrothal gifts to the Prime Minister's residence. They were going to marry the eldest miss of the Prime Minister's residence, Jingyu, on the 10th day of the 11th month. Sending the betrothal gifts twice in a year, and getting married twice. Such a dramatic scene was hard for everyone to accept. Moreover, the wedding this time was in such a hurry. It had only been 10 days of preparation time, but it made the people of the Prime Minister's residence run around anxiously. In order to abide by the rules, the newlyweds could not see each other before they were married. Jing Lang carried out this sentence very well, completely protecting the Prime Minister's residence and preventing Xiao Qin from entering. This made Xiao Qin very anxious. There were still 8 or 9 days until the wedding. Did this mean that he and Jing Yu could not see each other for 8 or 9 days? Within the Wang Fu, Xiao Qin sat in the study with a gloomy face. Master? Interrogation Officer 1 called out in fear and trepidation. Speak. Xiao Qin's face darkened as he spat out the word coldly. Interrogation Officer 1 swallowed silently. A man who was not satisfied with his desires was really too scary. Xingyi took a deep breath and calmly reported the news he had just received to Xiao Qin. News came from the Northern Pastoral. They found traces of the Holy Family and suspected that they were searching for them in the Northern Pastoral. Hellion Theo has temporarily detained the Holy Family. Northern Pastoral? Xiao Qin's heart skipped a beat. They had just left the Northern Pastoral not long ago, and news of the Holy Family came from the Northern Pastoral. It seemed that the Holy Family must have sensed something and chased after them. The situation was not good, but how did Hellion Theo manage to stall the Holy Family? Yes, Xingyi replied with a frown, then pursed his lips. Master, what should we do now? Keep a close eye on the Holy Family's movements. Also, Xiao Qin clenched his fists and said coldly, uproot all of the poison sect's strongholds in the Tokyo. Kill them. Interrogation Officer 1 turned solemn and bowed in response. Just as he was about to turn and leave, Xiao Qin called out to him again. Wait. Xiao Qin raised a hand to stop Xingyi. Xingyi turned and asked, Master, do you have any other orders? Can we enter the Prime Minister's estate? Xiao Qin's expression was a little strange, but he still put on airs and asked in a cold voice. Xingyi was taken aback, then his expression turned strange as well. He replied respectfully, the Prime Minister's estate isn't open yet. Master, there's no need to be anxious. The wedding day will arrive in a few days. Xiao Qin's reply was indescribably sullen. Interrogation Officer 1 walked out of the door with a face full of smiles. The Prince Li's estate was as busy as a spinning top. Lanterns and banners were hung everywhere, and the word, happiness, was plastered all over the place. Xiao Qin only felt irritated all day, and today was the same. He was calmly practicing his calligraphy in his room when he heard Xingyi's report. Chapter 568. Ahem. Boss, your older brother is here to look for you. Just as Xiao Qin was about to make his next move, there was a sudden knock on the door. Jingyu was so shocked that she pushed Xiao Qin away in a fluster. Oh, I'm here. Jingyu took a deep breath. Her cheeks were red as she looked at Xiao Qin. She pursed her lips and said, I'm leaving first. Wait for me to leave before you go out. Xiao Qin's face was so dark that it was almost burning. He cursed in his heart. Damn it. Jingyu straightened her clothes, patted her cheeks, and walked out. At a glance, she saw Nwanyu who was talking to Jing Lang. She felt her heart beating very fast, as if she had been caught red-handed. Big brother. Jingyu smiled and called out to Jing Lang. I just happened to pass by the store. I heard that you came to pick up the wedding dress, so I came in to take a look. Jing Lang raised his hand and rubbed Jingyu's head. He asked, How is it? Does the dress fit? Do you like it? Jingyu paused for a moment before reacting. Nwanyu must be saying that she was trying on the wedding dress inside. Otherwise, Jing Lang wouldn't ask this. Jingyu coughed in embarrassment and said with a smile, It fits very well. I like it very much. That's good. Jing Lang replied, Let's go. Father is waiting at home. Jingyu replied. Xiao Chen lifted the curtain and watched Jing Yu and Jing Lang leave with a gloomy expression. Xing Yi, who had been hiding in a corner, appeared. He looked at his master's gloomy expression and grinned. It seemed that his master felt even more uncomfortable after seeing Miss Jing Yu. November 10th, the wedding day of the 9th Empress. The entire street from the prince's residence to the prime minister's residence was booked. Jing Yu was still asleep when she was dragged out of bed by Nuan Yu. There was this etiquette and that instructor. Jing Yu yawned as she studied. Only now did she feel that getting married was so tiring. Why didn't she feel anything last time? My face. An earth-shattering wail sounded. Several maidservants each held onto one of Jing Yu's hands. The other maidservants took 2 pieces of thread and shaved Jing Yu's face, saying that they wanted to shave off the hair on her face. Eldest miss, please bear with it. Nuan Yu couldn't bear to hear Jing Yu's miserable cries and kept comforting her. Come and try it. I feel like a layer of skin has been peeled off my face. Jing Yu was in tears. It took her a long time to finally clear her head. After that, she had to put on her clothes and comb her hair. After that, Jing Yu collapsed. This could be compared to one of the 18 tortures. The sky was bright. Jing Yu changed into her wedding dress and covered her head with the embroidered handkerchief. At this time, the sound of gongs and drums could be heard from outside. Following that, a manservant ran in excitedly and shouted, "The 9th Emperor is here to pick up the bride. Quick, 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 the bride, get up." Immediately, a group of mamas hurriedly helped Jing Yu up. At this moment, Jing Yu only felt that her neck was about to break. The thing on top of her head was like a huge rock. She was really at a loss. There were cheers outside. Jing Yu was helped out of the room and walked towards the main hall. From afar, she could hear Xiao Chen's voice. Jing Yu's eyes revealed a smile. When she lowered her head, she could see a pair of hands holding hers. They were slightly rough. These were her father's hands. Chapter 569. Father. Jing Yu slightly saluted. After leaving this door, you will be a member of the Xiao family. You must not let yourself be wronged. Jing Zhan tightly held Jing Yu's hand and used his crutch to move forward with difficulty. Jing Yu's eyes were slightly hot. For a moment, she had the impulse to not get married. A pair of shoes once again appeared in front of her eyes. The dark red shoes were embroidered with a domineering totem. She didn't need to think to know that it was Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen, today, I will entrust Yuer to you. She has no parents to love her since she was a child. She has suffered a lot. In the future, you must treat her well. You must not let my baby daughter suffer any grievances. Jing Zhan solemnly held both of their hands together. When his words fell, his slightly trembling voice made Jing Yu's eyes hot and almost shed tears. You can rest assured, Yuer is my life. Xiao Chen tightly held Jing Yu's hand as if he was making an oath. Good. Jing Zhan took a deep breath and said, if your mother knows this, she will definitely be happy for you. Jing Yu knelt down and bid farewell to Jing Zhan and Jing Lang. Then, Xiao Chen carried her to the bridal sedan chair. Under the warm blessings of the crowd, the 8 sedan chairs went to the Xiao Wangfu. Xiao Chen rode his horse in the front. Xiao Chen always had a cold and expressionless face, but today, there was a faint smile on his lips. The palanquin was carried exceptionally steadily. Jing Yu turned her head slightly and glanced at the people carrying the palanquin. She was so shocked that she almost fell off the palanquin. The people carrying the palanquin were actually interrogation officers 1 and 2. There were also a group of people carrying Xiao Chen's shadow guards. Xing Yi and Xing Er were originally handsome, but because they stayed by Xiao Chen's side all year round and dressed as guards, they were rarely noticed. So, their faces were ignored. Now, 8 handsome shadow guards were carrying the sedan chair? 9th Imperial Uncle's generosity is too great. I am so happy to be able to marry the 9th Emperors. They're throwing money at the back. A voice filled with envy sounded. Jing Yu had a faint smile on her face. Xiao Chen was really good. This wedding procession really gave enough face to the Prime Minister. They were also very arrogant. With such a huge wedding procession, She was afraid that even the Empress would not have such a scene. The procession was neither fast nor slow. Copper coins, candies, and the like were scattered behind them. Countless children came forward to fight for them. At the entrance of the prince's residence, once the sedan chair arrived, people immediately lit up the sky to welcome it. Qinggu and Yijun, dressed in festive clothes, stood at the entrance to welcome them. At the same time, there was another person among them. It was Xiao Chen's wet nurse. When she saw Xiao Chen arrive with the sedan chair, her eyes were filled with joy. Jingyu stepped down from the carriage with the help of her wet nurse. After that, she was held by Xiao Chen. Jingyu could see the corner of Xiao Chen's red robes when she tilted her head slightly. In Jingyu's impression, Xiao Chen always wore black. She really wanted to know how Xiao Chen would look like when he wore red. Xiao Chen held Jingyu's hand and stepped into the prince's residence. They walked past the brazier and listened to the blessings of the crowd. After that, it was time for the wedding ceremony. Jingyu and Xiao Chen's wet nurse sat in the highest position in the hall and received the worship from Xiao Chen and Jingyu. After the couple bowed to each other, they were sent to the bridal chamber. Jingyu was placed on a red wedding veil in the room. Jingyu was supported by a group of wet nurses to sit on the bed. She was about to collapse. She resisted the urge to tear off the veil and sat in her original position. She heard a wet nurse bring in some pastries, saying that Xiao Chen was afraid that she would be hungry and wanted to eat first. Chapter 570. Haha. Nailin Yu laughed heartily in the dark cellar. Shadow, Nailin Yu calmly brushed her hair behind her ear as she lowered her eyes to call out. Master! The man who had disappeared earlier reappeared. He was dressed in black and knelt in front of the bed, his head bowed as he awaited orders. I heard that the Holy Family is staying in the northern pastoral region. Think of a way to spread the news that the people with different pupils are in the Tokyo region. Also, send a message to the Poison Sect's headquarters. The other pupils have already appeared in the world. I'm sure those elders will be impatient to come out of seclusion. Nailin Yu played with her fingers as she spoke, a faint smile in her eyes. Yes. The black-robed man paused and bowed. Just as he was about to leave, Nailin Yu called out to him again, Wait. Does Master have any other orders? The black-robed man knelt again and bowed. Come here. Nailin Yu propped herself up and beckoned to the black-robed man. The man was startled but still stepped forward. His calm eyes were no longer calm when he saw Nailin Yu. His Adam's apple bobbed slightly as he stared expressionlessly at Nailin Yu. Serve me well. Nailin Yu reached out and hooked her arm around the black-robed man's neck. Her body leaned closer to him as her beautiful face filled with a smile. Her seductive eyes held an aloof arrogance as if she was bestowing a gift upon him. Yes. The black-clothed man replied in a hoarse voice. He raised his hand and grabbed Nailin Yu's waist. Then he brought Nailin Yu down onto the couch. Not long after, the sound that would make people blush once again sounded out in the dark cellar. After a night of silence, the red candles burned out and the sky brightened. The princely manner slowly began to wake up. Jingyu's eyelashes trembled as she opened her sleeping eyes. The scenery around her was unfamiliar, causing Jingyu to be dazed for a moment before she abruptly regained her senses. She was no longer in the Prime Minister's manor, but in the princely manor. Last night was her wedding. Just as Jingyu was thinking about this, she felt her waist tighten. Her back was pressed against a warm chest. Jingyu moved her sore body and turned to look. Xiao Chen was looking at Jingyu in his arms with narrowed eyes. The curve of his mouth clearly showed that Xiao Chen was in a very good mood. My waist is so sore. I don't have any strength left. Jingyu pinched Xiao Chen's face bitterly and said, It's all your fault. Xiao Chen hugged Jingyu tightly and rubbed against her head, cheeks, and finally buried his head in her neck. He greedily inhaled the scent that belonged to Jingyu. He narrowed his eyes and said faintly, Did you enjoy yourself last night? You bastard. Jingyu blushed at Xiao Chen's words. She pushed Xiao Chen's head away and said, I'm hungry, I want to eat. I'm also hungry. Xiao Chen raised his hand and held down Jingyu, who was about to run away. He flipped his body and pressed down on top of her. There was a faint smile in his eyes as he said, "Feed me first." "Ah, Xiaochen, you beast." Before Jingyu could finish her words, Xiaochen leaned over and covered her mouth. All of her protests were swallowed by his lips and tongue. They were so passionate early in the morning. This torment lasted until noon. Jingyu closed her eyes and didn't move. Xiaochen gently caressed her smooth back. He leaned over and kissed Jingyu's back. He raised his hand and held Jingyu's waist. He looked at her and said, "Are you tired? I'll carry you to the shower." Chapter 571. After changing into a set of purple-red clothes, she slowly walked out of the room. In the outer room, Xiaochen was sitting on a chair. Xing Yi was standing at the side, seemingly in the middle of a conversation. When he heard the sound from beside him, he turned his head to look. "Greetings, Imperial Concubine." Xing Yi saw that her hair was already tied into a bun and combed into a married lady's bun. He was slightly taken aback, but then he respectfully greeted her. "Xing Yi, when did you become so courteous?" Jingyu covered her mouth and smiled. She stood in front of Xing Yi and said with a smile, "This subordinate?" Xing Yi's expression turned slightly awkward. "You can withdraw first." Xiaochen stood up, put his arm around Jingyu's waist, and said to Interrogation Officer 1 plainly. Interrogation Officer 1 acknowledged and retreated. "Weren't you hungry? I had the kitchen prepare some food." Xiaochen turned to look at Jingyu and asked. Jingyu smiled and nodded. She said with hidden bitterness, "I didn't eat much yesterday. I'm already so hungry that my chest is sticking to my back." "Then eat more. That way you'll have more strength," Xiaochen said seriously. "Xiaochen, shut up." Jingyu's face instantly turned red. Yin Xiao, who was standing behind her, covered her mouth and laughed. 3 days after marriage was the time to return home. This time, Jingyu didn't use the identity of the Prime Minister's daughter. Instead, she used the identity of the 9th Imperial Concubine. Early in the morning, Yin Xiao and Nuanyu made a fuss. Nuanyu, as a dowry maid, followed Jingyu to the prince's estate. The two of them got along well. They woke up early in the morning and began to prepare the things they needed to bring back home. Xiaochen naturally followed Jingyu back. The journey to the Prime Minister's estate was only a short one. In Jingyu's words, they would see each other frequently. This street is married to that street. He really didn't know what the purpose of this visit was, but since it was the same rule, then he would just have to do as the Romans do. "Can't you let me have a good night's sleep?" Jingyu rested her chin on her hand. Her face was full of fatigue. They had only been married for 3 days, but Jingyu felt that she was almost half dead. Sitting in the carriage, she was yawning nonstop. Xiaochen looked at Jingyu's appearance and knew that this lass was probably exhausted. He leaned slightly towards Jingyu and moved her head to his shoulder, saying, "You rest for a while. Xing Yi, have the carriage slow down." "Yes." A response came from outside the carriage. Jingyu moved her head and found a comfortable position on Xiaochen's shoulder. She closed her eyes and let herself relax. She wanted to have a good sleep, but she couldn't. She always felt restless and irritated. His eyes were closed, and his brows were tightly knitted. "Mistress, we've arrived." When Xing Yi's voice came from outside, Jingyu sat up straight. She let out a sigh of relief and said, "Let's go." Xiaochen looked at Jingyu and frowned slightly. He took the lead and got off the carriage. He stood by the side of the carriage and helped Jingyu down. There was a crowd gathered at the entrance of the Prime Minister's residence. With such a respectful attitude, it was naturally to welcome Jingyu, the 9th Imperial Concubine. Jingyu was leaning on a walking stick. Jinglang stood at the side. When they saw Xiaochen help Jingyu down, they bowed together and said, "Greetings to the 9th Emperors and 9th Imperial Concubine. Father, big brother, quickly get up." Jingyu was startled by this and quickly stepped forward to help the two up. Xiaochen then stepped forward and bowed slightly to Jingzhan, saying, "Father-in-law." Good, quickly come in, quickly come in." Jingzhan felt very comfortable being called father-in-law by Xiaochen. He beamed with joy and called everyone in. Xing Yi and Xing Er also moved the things they brought with them into the Prime Minister's residence. Chapter 572. Jingyu didn't have a mother, so Mei Jinghe came out to entertain her. After all, she was Jingyu's aunt in name, Jingzheng's second son, Jinghong. Now, he was increasingly favored by some scholars and had a lot of good reviews. The only thing left was the marriage between Jing Yan and the second prince. Xiao Jingran was unwilling to marry Jing Yan no matter what, which angered the emperor greatly. The emperor decreed that the wedding should be held in the 8th month of the year. Who would have thought that Xiao Jingran would go to the border alone just before the wedding was about to be held? The wedding was delayed again, and no one knew what it was like now. Before Jingyu came back, it was said that Jing Yan couldn't bear the humiliation and went to the temple to recuperate. She would be back in a few days. Now that Xiao Jingran was also in the imperial city, no one knew what the wedding would be like. Father, you're biased. At the dining table, Jingyu looked at such a big table of food and was immediately unhappy. Jing Zhan and Jing Lang were slightly surprised as they looked at the dissatisfied Jingyu. Xiao Chen came and you made so much delicious food. I didn't even get to eat at home. Jingyu looked at Jing Zhan and Jing Lang with a face full of hidden bitterness. The two of them didn't know whether to laugh or cry when they heard her words. Silly girl, father wants to curry favor with the 9th emperors. This way, the 9th emperors will remember father's kindness and will treat you well in the future. Jing Zhan coughed and pretended to speak very softly to Jingyu. Jingyu's eyes widened when she heard this. She pretended to be serious as she nodded and said, "That's true." Cough, cough. Xiao Chen's eyes were full of smiles. He coughed and said as he ate, "The dishes at the Prime Minister's residence are more delicious than the ones at the prince's residence. Father-in-law is very considerate." More. After the meal, Jingyu and Xiao Chen took a stroll in the backyard. Jingyu leaned on his walking stick as he watched Xiao Chen and Jingyu holding hands beside the pond. He felt gratified. Father. Jing Lang stepped forward and stood beside Jing Zhan. He looked up and saw Jingyu standing on a large rock, baring her fangs and brandishing her claws as she pounced on Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen was shocked and quickly caught Jingyu, who was pouncing on him. There was a faint reproach on his face, but it was gentle and loving. The 9 emperors are doing very well. Jing Zhan sighed in relief and said, "Seeing you, like this, I'm relieved. Father, I didn't want you, to marry the 9th emperors. What the royal family said is not good." Jing Lang also sighed in relief and said, "However, looking at the 9th emperors doing this for Jingyu, I feel lucky. Fortunately, is marrying the 9th emperors." What news came from the palace? Jing Zhan looked at Jing Lang and asked, "I sent someone to inquire about it. It's an earth-shattering news." Jing Lang took a deep breath and looked at Xiao Chen with uncertainty. He looked at the two of them walking away and said faintly, "Before the wedding, the 9th emperors took you, to the palace. The emperor wants to arrest the 9th emperors. The emperor has been enduring for so many years. He watched 9th imperial uncle's power slowly accumulate. He didn't take it seriously. But he didn't expect that when there was a crisis, it was already too late. As the emperor, he didn't dare to touch Xiao Wangfu, or rather, he couldn't touch it. How unbearable is this for an emperor who is the supreme ruler? Sure enough, he still exploded. Jing Zhan's lips curled into a smile of understanding as he spoke in admiration. Chapter 573. That's what happened. Jing Lang nodded and replied, "However, what happened after that was truly terrifying. I don't know the specifics, but I do know that the matter of whether the imperial edict was real or fake did exist. The previous emperor intended to pass the throne to the 9th emperors, but the 9th emperors didn't care about it at all." "That's reasonable." Jing Zhan nodded lightly in response. After that, he made it clear that the 9th emperors didn't want to inherit the throne. There was only one reason he entered the palace, and that was to marry you. Jing Lang's heart was filled with emotions. When he thought of the news he saw, the shock in his heart couldn't be calmed down for a long time. For a woman, Xiao Chen actually went to such an extent. Jing Lang was shocked, but at the same time, he was incomparably gratified. For such a man to marry Jingyu, he would definitely treat Jingyu well in the future. This was something that didn't need to be verified to be certain. In the corridor, Jing Lang and Jing Zhan finally let go of the uneasiness that had been in their hearts for a long time. They could rest assured that Jingyu would be handed over to the 9th Empress. Jingyu and Xiaochen didn't know what Jing Zhan and Jing Lang were thinking. At this moment, they were walking and stopping to sit down in a pavilion to rest. Comparing it like this, I suddenly feel that the prince's palace is more familiar. I haven't been able to stay in the Prime Minister's palace for long. Jingyu looked around at the exquisiteness of the surroundings and said lightly. Xiaochen was silent for a moment, then said lightly, "If you miss it, you can come back and stay at any time." Xiaochen said lightly. This time, it was Jingyu's turn to be silent. She had asked Qinggu before. Her father's legs hadn't actually recovered, but he had used a miraculous medicine to allow Jingzhan to stand for a short period of time. Because Jingzhan said that he wanted to attend his daughter's wedding grandly, the medicine would soon lose its effect and Jingzhan would have to endure an intense pain that no one else could understand. Xiaochen, Qinggu is going back to Miracle Medical Valley, right? Jingyu pursed her lips and asked Xiaochen. Okay. Xiaochen narrowed his eyes and held Jingyu's hand tightly. Daddy is about to leave with Qinggu soon. I've always felt so stuffy in my heart. Jingyu leaned towards Xiaochen and said with a frown, "This is a good thing for father, but why do I feel so uncomfortable? I feel like something bad is going to happen." Don't overthink it. Xiaochen gently patted Jingyu's head and said, "I will send people to protect you. If there is a chance, perhaps we can take the opportunity to visit Miracle Physician Valley." Do you have a way to get in? Jingyu's eyes lit up as she looked at Xiaochen with sparkling eyes. A person can think of a way. Xiaochen's lips curled up. He leaned against the wooden railing and said, "The Crown Prince's wedding is in a month and a half. Qinggu may leave then." The Crown Prince's wedding? Jingyu's heart skipped a beat. She said, "Is the Crown Prince preparing to make a move?" "Yes," Xiaochen said indifferently, "the illness that has not been cured for many years should be cured by now." Jingyu raised her eyebrows, but didn't say anything. She leaned on Xiaochen's shoulder and didn't say anything. After that, the two of them went to Jingzhan's study and talked to him. They also told him that Qinggu was about to leave. Jingzhan sighed in relief. "Ninth Emperors, I am very relieved that Yu is in your hands." This was the last thing Jingzhan said to Xiaochen before he left. Xiaochen didn't reply. He bowed slightly to Jingzhan and took Jingyu back to the palace. Chapter 574. 1.5 months passed quickly. Jingyu had nothing to do in the prince's mansion. Xiaochen, on the other hand, was very busy. Whenever he was free, he would hug Jingyu and rub their heads together. Their days were very enjoyable. Qinggu was about to leave, so he would come to disturb Jingyu every once in a while. Ninth sister-in-law, look at this case. How big is the risk of surgery? Can you use Chinese medicine to treat it? Also, Qinggu asked Jingyu all kinds of questions almost every day. At the beginning, Jingyu would explain patiently, but later on, she was almost driven crazy by these questions. As long as she saw Qinggu, she would hide or run away. Ninth sister-in-law. At this time, Qinggu was making a fuss again. Our Jingyu already knew her place and climbed onto the roof, lying down silently. "Ugly woman, is it really good for us to treat brother godly doctor like this?" Yijun had grown taller and his face was rosy. He held a medium-sized Rubik's Cube in his hand. At this time, he was lying on the roof with Jingyu. He tilted his head and looked at Jingyu as he asked, "Brat, call me sister." Jingyu raised her hand and hit him on the head. Yijun grimaced and held his head, saying silently, "Ugly woman, hey, you brat." Jingyu immediately glared at him. The two people lying on the roof stared at each other. Ninth sister-in-law, where are you?" When the shouts came from below, Jingyu and Yijun immediately shrunk their heads and hid themselves well. They were determined not to make a sound. Lord Qingge, the imperial concubine, went out. Yin Xiao's voice sounded. She went out again? Qingji's voice was filled with surprise. Then, he said unhappily, you are already married. Why are you running around every day? Miss Yin Xiao, ninth sister-in-law, is back. You have to inform me. Okay, I will inform you when I am free. Yin Xiao answered naturally. However, Yin Xiao was tired of saying this. I will inform you when I am free, but I am not free every day. Because if the imperial concubine wants me to be busy, then I am naturally busy. Qingge left with a heart full of displeasure. Jingyu, who was hiding on the roof, watched Qingge leave. Only then did she heave a deep sigh of relief. Was it easy for her to avoid this fellow? Imperial concubine, you can come down now. Lord Qingge has left. Yin Xiao stood below the room and raised her head to shout towards the roof. Yin Xiao saw Jingyu climb down the stairs and couldn't help but smile. Jingyu stood on the ground and sighed deeply. Yi Jun was also helped down. The two of them looked at each other and then silently turned to enter the room. Yi Jun buried his head in his Rubik's Cube. Jingyu, on the other hand, had nothing to do. She read storybooks and ate. In the blink of an eye, 1.5 months passed. During this time, Lu Miaoqiu couldn't be seen at all. She often sat in restaurants with Shangguan Linglong to eat and drink. Sometimes, she would go out of the city to play with Yin Jian and Yin Feng. After the New Year, the 5th day of the New Year was the day of the Crown Prince's wedding. As the 9th imperial concubine, Jingyu naturally had to attend. The imperial palace was also filled with jubilation. The Crown Prince's wedding wasn't a particularly big matter. However, the emperor seemed to want to make it a big deal. He even wanted to hold a big banquet in the imperial palace and invited all the nobles in the imperial palace. The night was silent. In the imperial palace, Xiao Ye's face was pale as he sat on the dragon throne. A guard stood beside him and quietly waited for Xiao Ye's reaction. Chapter 575. Is the news reliable? Xiao Yi asked with a frown as he tapped his dragon throne. It is. The guard bowed and said, I'm afraid that the other 3 countries have received the same news. The hidden clans have come out of seclusion. The Holy Family has come from the northern pastoral region to Tokyo. The Maoshan sect, Shaolin Temple, and other monks have also come out. The Holy Family has arrived at Tokyo? Xiao Yi narrowed his eyes and asked. Yes, they arrived yesterday. The guard nodded. On the 5th day of the lunar year, invite the Holy Family to the palace to attend the Crown Prince's wedding. Xiao Yi said lightly. The guard bowed. Under the flickering candlelight, something seemed to be stirring. The atmosphere of the new year was lively, and the Crown Prince's wedding was even more joyous. The palace was very busy. On the morning of the 5th day of the lunar year, Jingyu was dressed up. She put on the clothes of the 9th imperial concubine and followed Xiao Chen into the palace. In the carriage, Jingyu frowned slightly. She opened the curtains and looked outside. She felt strange and said, Why do I feel like there are more people patrolling the streets? The Crown Prince's wedding, and he invited all the officials to the palace. This is a very meaningful move. Xiao Chen's eyes were cold as he said, Not long ago, I received news that the Holy Family will arrive at Tokyo in a few days. Jingyu, you have to be careful. The Holy Family is coming? Jingyu's heart trembled. Her eyes narrowed with a dangerous light. I'm not sure yet. Someone is deliberately obscuring my information. They are sending Xing Heir to investigate. There should be a result tonight. Xiao Chen put his hand on Jingyu's shoulder and said, Just get through today safely. Be careful at the banquet. Jingyu put away her playful thoughts and slowly calmed down. This matter was too important, so Jingyu had to be careful. A sedan had already been prepared at the entrance of the palace. When Jingyu arrived at the banquet hall with Xiao Chen, almost everyone had arrived. This was the first time that Jingyu appeared as the 9th princess's concubine. Everyone looked at her meaningfully. Jingyu felt an extremely hot gaze staring at her. She slowly raised her head and saw Xiao Jingran sitting on her left. She hadn't seen Xiao Jingran for a long time. Jing Yu was slightly startled when she saw Xiao Jingran's hostile expression. He really looked like he had been on the battlefield and killed people. That feeling of being bathed in blood was actually brought here. In the end, she was still too inexperienced. She couldn't even control her aura. She couldn't compare with Xiao Qin. Jing Yu tilted her head and avoided Xiao Chen's gaze. She followed Xiao Qin to the high seat on his right and slowly sat down. Then the Emperor, the Empress, and the Empress Dowager all arrived. Xiao Qin sat there expressionlessly. However, when Xiao Yi and the Empress Dowager saw Xiao Qin, their expressions changed uncomfortably. However, it disappeared in an instant and no one noticed. The Crown Prince only needed a few words from the Emperor and the Empress Dowager to decide if he wanted to take a concubine. There was no such thing as bowing to heaven and earth and being sent to the bridal chamber. Jing Yu watched as the Crown Prince and Lu Miaoqiu received everyone's congratulations. She watched as the palace maids and nannies helped Lu Miaoqiu put on the Crown Princess's formal attire and crown. The ceremony was complete. In the eyes of outsiders, this was a noble and honorable occasion. However, in Jing Yu's eyes, it was a bit sad. Compared to her wedding with Xiao Qin, Jing Yu undoubtedly felt that she was blessed. Perhaps everyone saw things differently. Chapter 576. After Jing Yu saw that the ceremony was over, she pulled Xiao Qin forward to toast. In this kind of situation, the Crown Prince should be the one toasting Xiao Qin. However, Jing Yu had forcefully pulled him away. When the officials saw Jing Yu's actions, they were somewhat alarmed. Miaoqiu. Jing Yu held Lu Miaoqiu's hand with a face full of joy. Yeah. Lu Miaoqiu's cheeks were faintly pink as she smiled gently at Jing Yu. Jing Yu pulled Lu Miaoqiu to the side and looked around. When she saw Shangguan Linglan looking in their direction, Jing Yu hurriedly waved for Shangguan Linglan to come over. I thought you were going to ignore me. Shangguan Linglan ran over excitedly. He looked at Jing Yu and Lu Miaoqiu and said with a sigh, "How did the two of you get married in the blink of an eye? I'm the only one left. Lanlan, you should also pay attention to your marriage," Lu Miaoqiu said coquettishly as she glared at Shangguan Linglan. "Miaoqiu, don't worry about him." Jing Yu looked at Shangguan Linglan with disdain and said, "I heard that many young masters went to your residence to propose marriage. However, they all went in vertically and came out horizontally. With your speed, I'm afraid you won't be able to get married for the rest of your life." Lu Miaoqiu covered her mouth and laughed. She looked at Shangguan Linglan's embarrassed appearance and her heart was filled with helplessness. Those young masters were all full of nonsense. They couldn't even withstand one blow from me. How can I marry such a man? Shangguan Linglan crossed his arms and said arrogantly, "You're really picky." Jing Yu bared her teeth and looked at Shangguan Linglan. The three of them chatted for a while before they saw the Crown Prince turn around and bring Lu Miaoqiu to offer tea to the Emperor and Empress Dowager. Xiao Qin also looked at Jing Yu. In the blink of an eye, the two people beside Shangguan Linglan dispersed. Shangguan Linglan was left alone and he sighed helplessly. He turned and returned to his seat. In the past, he had never considered marriage. On the other side, Jing Yu and Xiao Qin returned to their seats. After the Crown Prince offered tea, all the officials came forward to congratulate the Crown Prince. Singing and dancing sounded and the banquet entered a lively stage. Jing Yu enjoyed the singing and dancing while eating. Xiao Qin looked for delicious food and fed it to Jing Yu from time to time. Jing Yu did the same. The two of them went back and forth and the people around them were a little shy. When had they ever seen the high and mighty ninth emperors so attentive to someone? Jing Yu ate to her heart's content. Every time she looked up, she would see Xiao Jingran's fiery eyes. This made her frown slightly. Who else could it be but Jing Yu sitting beside Xiao Jingran? They hadn't seen each other for a long time and Jing Yan had become quieter. She sat beside Xiao Jingran as if she was invisible. She could often hear people talking about how shameless Jing Yan was. The second prince was unwilling to marry her and she was still clinging to the second prince. These words were full of ridicule. Let alone Jing Yan, even Jing Yu couldn't bear to listen to them. Jing Yu glanced at Jing Yan and sighed silently. She felt a little tired and moved to Xiao Chen's side. Leaning against Xiao Chen glanced sideways at Jingyu. He raised his hand and held Jingyu's waist to make her more comfortable. Chapter 577. At this moment, the originally lively music suddenly stopped. Everyone who was drinking and chatting stopped what they were doing and looked around in confusion. Finally, their gazes landed on Xiao Yi, who was sitting on the high seat. Jingyu also had a look of confusion. Could it be that the emperor had some other performance? My beloved ministers, this emperor is fortunate to have invited the people of the hidden clan to come and congratulate the crown prince. Xiao Yi slowly straightened his body and looked around. Then he lightly said, "The people of the hidden clan who came to my Tokyo this time are members of the Holy Family. I believe that my beloved ministers have some understanding of this Holy Family. Rumor has it that they can predict the future and support people with different pupils who control beasts. This time, they came to my Tokyo in search of people with different pupils." Xiao Ye's words lightly rang out in the hall. Everyone's eyes were filled with confusion. With regards to this remote hidden clan, they knew almost nothing. The only thing they knew were the strange rumors that they heard from the old people. The most they heard from the previous kings was probably this king who was searching for the elixir of immortality. People with different pupils, there were rumors about them many years ago. However, only the high-ranking officials of the country knew about them. The common people did not know about them. Now that Xiao Yi suddenly said these words in this peaceful world, everyone's expressions changed. Among them, Jing Yan's expression changed. When she heard Xiao Yi say the words, "people with different pupils," Jing Yan's heart suddenly tightened. She widened her eyes in horror and looked unnaturally at Jingyu. However, she immediately lowered her head and did not dare to raise it again. Jingyu and Xiao Chen's expressions also suddenly became serious. Everyone looked at Xiao Yi and waited for him to speak. "Someone come. Invite our friends from the hidden clan up." Xiao Yi smiled faintly and waved his hand. Hearing this, everyone turned their heads and looked towards the entrance of the main hall. A few figures slowly appeared at the entrance of the main hall. The two old men in the lead were dressed in gray and white robes. They gave off a sage-like feeling. The 3 or 4 people following behind them were slightly younger. They had a pair of clear and dark eyes. After scanning the surroundings, they continued to move forward. His cold and aloof appearance made him look like a member of a hidden family. Everyone watched as the member of the Holy Family walked up to Xiao Yi with his chest puffed out. He didn't kneel, nor did he bend his waist. He just stood there and said coldly, "Greetings, Your Majesty, the Tokyo Emperor." Everyone, please be at ease. Xiao Yi didn't get angry. He smiled and raised his hand to let them be at ease. He called for someone to bring over chairs and said, "It must have been hard for you all to come from afar. Please take a seat. Your Majesty, there's no need to be so polite. We're only here to find someone with a different pupil." The old man in the lead said faintly. He looked slightly older and was clearly the leader of this group. "May I know if the two of you are from the Holy Family?" Xiao Ye's expression didn't change. He turned his head slightly and asked the two of them, "I am Mengyan, the 5th elder of the Holy Family. This is the 6th elder, Yenchen." The 5th elder Meng and cupped his hands slightly to Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi smiled and agreed. He casually chatted with the two for a while before allowing them to sit down and rest. "The 2 elders claim that you have come to search for people with different pupils. In that case, may I ask how the 2 elders are searching? Could it be that you only rely on your eyes to distinguish?" Seeing Mengyan and Yenchen sit down, Crown Prince Xiao Yuling opened his mouth and asked somewhat doubtfully. Chapter 578. Your Highness Crown Prince, our Holy Family has our own treasures. This mirror is a treasure passed down from generation to generation in the Holy Family. As long as someone has different pupils, if they shine this mirror in their eyes, the mirror will reflect their pupils. That person is someone with different pupils. If they see black pupils, then they are not someone with different pupils. Meng An's lips curled into a proud smile as he spoke. Xiao Ye's eyes revealed a look of curiosity when he heard this. Everyone also felt that it was incomparably mysterious. They had never seen such a divine object before. In that case, why don't Elder Meng try it on the people in the hall? Xiao Ye's eyebrows slightly raised as he spoke. This old man has the same idea. Meng nodded with a smile. The Holy Family has always had different pupils. Since His Majesty has agreed, then why don't we let everyone in the hall try it? Xiao Yi laughed heartily and waved his hand for everyone to try. After everyone heard this, their eyes suddenly revealed a strange, timid look. Who knew if this mirror was really accurate? If it was not accurate, then even if they were not monsters, they would still be called monsters. If that was the case, how could they find someone to talk to? Everyone pushed each other back to hide. Meng looked at everyone's reaction and his eyes revealed a look of displeasure. Jing Yu's heart was beating uncontrollably. Looking at those people from the Holy Family, she cursed fiercely in her heart. Damn it, of all times to come, why did they come now? Xiao Chen held Jing Yu's hand tightly and did not let go. He seemed to be quietly comforting Jing Yu not to worry. What, no one dares to try it? Or is there someone with different pupils hiding among you? Yan Chen's pair of shrewd eyes swept over everyone. Suddenly, everyone's faces turned pale. These words were not spoken carelessly. Who knew if they would be killed because of the word monster? The silence made Xiao Yi, who was sitting on the high seat, frown. Just as Xiao Yi was about to speak, Jing Yan, who had been sitting quietly with her head lowered, stood up first and said, "Since it is His Majesty's order, why don't the two elders let this little girl have a try first?" Finally, someone who knows what's good for him. Yan Chen laughed out loud. He snatched the mirror from the person beside him and handed it to Jing Yan. Jing Yan's hand trembled slightly as she held the mirror. She suppressed the fear in her heart and looked around at everyone. Finally, her gaze fell on Jing Yu. The corners of her mouth suddenly curled into an ambiguous smile. Jing Yu caught sight of that strange smile. In that instant, Jing Yu felt her heart clench and she started to panic. Jing Yan slowly raised the mirror in her hand in front of everyone. Yan Chen stood behind Jing Yan and also looked at the mirror. In the mirror, Jing Yan closed her eyes slightly and then slowly opened them. She stared at herself in the mirror. Her heart was beating fast, but the pair of black eyes in the mirror didn't change at all. "Alright, that's not it." Yan Chen frowned. He raised his hand and took Jing Yan's mirror. His announcement made the people around him slowly relax. "Thank you, Elder Yan." Jing Yan slowly breathed a sigh of relief and bowed to thank him. "Who else?" "Continue." Yan Chen glanced coldly at Jing Yan. He then turned to the crowd and shouted, "Elder Yan, I wonder if you can listen to this little girl?" After Yan Chen finished speaking, Jing Yan didn't leave. She still stood in the same place. Chapter 579. She smiled at Yan Chen and Mengen and said, "I feel that in this hall, there is only one person who is most likely to have different pupils." "You know?" Yan Chen looked at Jing Yan with interest and asked with a frown, "Could it be that you've seen her before?" "Ha!" Jing Yan didn't answer yes or no. She only smiled faintly and said, "This little girl would like to ask the two elders if this person with different pupils is definitely someone who can tame beasts?" "Of course. The saintess with different pupils is the ruler of beasts. This is what our Holy Family says. Is there anything wrong with that?" Yan Chen frowned and seemed a little displeased. "What do you know? Could it be that you've seen someone who can tame beasts?" Meng An's heart was also filled with excitement as he looked at Jing Yan with a burning gaze. Everyone's gaze was different as they all looked at Jing Yan. Jing Yan's lips curled into a faint smile and she said, "I'm not the only one who has seen it. Many of you have seen it before." "What?" Meng An and Yan Chen's eyes suddenly lit up. They couldn't hide the excitement in their eyes as they stared at Jing Yan. "I don't know if everyone still remembers that 3 years ago, 9th Imperial Uncle brought a woman into the Imperial City. That woman was able to command wolves. I believe that this incident must have left a deep impression on the second prince, right?" Jing Yan smiled and looked sideways at Xiao Jingran, who was sitting on the side. Xiao Jingran's expression changed slightly. It had been so long since that incident. Although no one dared to talk about it, it wasn't like no one remembered it. After Jing Yan mentioned it, everyone suddenly remembered. They looked at each other and their gazes landed on Jing Yan. Finally, their gazes landed on Jing Yu, who was sitting beside Xiao Qin. "Ah, I heard from Imperial concubine Xiang that not only can this woman command wolves, but she can also make poisonous snakes listen to her?" Jing Yan's eyes revealed a faint coldness. She tilted her head and looked at Jing Yu. The corners of her mouth curled up slightly as she said, "With such great ability, do you think it's very likely that this person has other pupils?" "Miss, are you serious? Where is this person now?" Meng Yan rushed in front of Jing Yan and stared at her. "That person is in this hall." The corners of Jing Yan's lips curled up slightly. She turned and looked at Jing Yu with a burning gaze. "Ninth Imperial concubine, don't you think so? Aren't you just trying to drag me down with you?" Jing Yu was silent for a while, then suddenly smiled. She raised her chin slightly and looked at Jing Yu's determined eyes. It was as if she was certain that Jing Yu was a person with different pupils. This action made Jing Yu's eyes flash with doubt. How could Jing Yan be so confident? In front of so many people, did he not consider the consequences at all when he said that out loud? Or rather, Jing Yan knew that she had abnormal pupils and wanted to use this opportunity to drag her down and ruin her reputation. If that was the case, then how did Jing Yan know that she had abnormal pupils? Jing Yu frowned. She suddenly thought back to last year's New Year's Eve. She had gone out with Jing Yu to buy New Year's goods. During that fight, she seemed to have seen a figure in the corner. At that time, Jing Yu had searched for that figure but was unable to find anything. Now that she thought about it, it was very likely that the figure from that day was Jing Yan. No wonder after that day, Jing Yan would avoid her whenever she saw her. There was even a trace of fear in her eyes. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.